Chapter 561. If he were to reincarnate 1 or 2 more times, he would likely wear out his primordial essence and lose the potential to awaken again. After so many reincarnations, one could say his appearance and soul essence had completely transformed. Logically, even those demon generals who had served under the demon lord alongside him would find it extremely difficult to recognize him. How did Lu Qing manage to see through his disguise? And who was he, really? The demon cultivator was utterly baffled. Yet Lu Qing had no intention of explaining. Instead, he said indifferently, "Demon child, stop wasting your effort. Your little schemes cannot escape my eyes. I've come here for one thing only. If you release the talismans from those few Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples that you control outside, perhaps I will grant you a swift end. But if you refuse, I will refine your divine soul, leaving your true spirit obliterated with no chance for reincarnation. Are you here for those mere ants?" The demon cultivator's divine soul was startled. He hadn't expected Lu Qing to come for such a trivial matter. However, a glimmer of hope soon emerged in his heart. Perhaps this was his chance to escape his predicament. "Exactly. So are you willing or not? If your excellency wishes me to release the talismans on their bodies, it's not impossible. Promise me with a divine soul oath that you will let me go, and I agree to your terms." With these words, the entire spiritual artifact space suddenly fell silent. Lu Qing quietly observed the wisp of the demon cultivator's divine soul without speaking. After examining the depths of the demon cultivator's soul until he felt uneasy, he slowly said, "Demon child, it seems I was not clear enough. I meant that if you release the talismans from their bodies, I could leave you a remnant of your true spirit so you could reincarnate. If you refuse, then I will obliterate your true spirit as well. Impossible once the divine soul is obliterated. Even if the true spirit remains, what use is it? Even if I reincarnated, it would no longer be me. Boy, if you don't leave me a way to live, then we both part ways. But I'll tell you, as soon as my divine soul is obliterated, those few ants outside will surely die as well, serving as my funeral companions." However, before the fluctuations of the demon cultivator's divine soul settled, countless flames suddenly appeared around him. Accompanying them were Lu Qing's icy words. "What gave you the illusion that you have the status to negotiate terms with me? Or do you really think that I would succumb to your threats for the sake of those few ants? Since you're unwilling, then go to your death." After that, those countless flames surged towards the demon cultivator's divine soul. As they drew near, strands of black qi appeared above the demon cultivator's divine soul and were utterly refined. Ah! The demon cultivator's divine soul had not expected Lu Qing to turn hostile without any room for negotiation. Feeling his own demonic qi essence continuously being refined, he knew that once it was entirely dissipated, he would truly plummet into oblivion. "Your Excellency, let's discuss this." The demon cultivator's divine soul shouted shrilly, "Even if you refine me, it won't benefit you in any way. I know you must be here for Wei Zihao, as he is the son of your close friend. If he dies, surely you won't be able to explain yourself to your friend. Since that's the case, let's both take a step back. If you promise not to refine this wisp of my divine soul, I am willing to open my heart and spirit and serve you as my master, becoming your servant." In his desperation to survive, the demon cultivator couldn't care less about anything else. Even if it meant becoming Lu Qing's slave, it was still better than dying. As long as he could live, there was still hope. "Very well. Then release your heart and spirit now, and let me imprint a divine soul mark." Lu Qing's voice came, cold and merciless. This time, the demon cultivator dared not hesitate at all. As he pleaded, Lu Qing did not slow down the refinement of his divine soul. If he did not make a decision quickly, he feared he wouldn't last a few more moments before completely perishing. The demon cultivator fully opened his heart and spirit without hesitation. At the moment his heart and spirit opened, almost instantaneously, a divine soul enslavement mark descended from the heavens and struck the true spirit core of the demon cultivator. Simultaneously, The raging spiritual fire that had been scorching his divine soul instantly dissipated. It was as if it had never appeared. Everything laid down was just an illusion to the demon cultivator. However, the demon cultivator knew it was not an illusion, because in that brief moment of scorching, 2/3 of his divine soul's essence had dissipated. He was barely spared, almost having been completely refined. "Greetings, Master." Feeling the divine soul enslavement mark on his true spirit core, the demon cultivator did not dare to delay, disregarding his weakened divine soul, and bowed to Lu Qing. His true spirit now marked, he was completely enslaved by Lu Qing, with no room left to resist. "Very good. Now release the talismans on Wei Zihao and the others." Lu Qing did not show sympathy for the demon cultivator's weakened divine soul, but instead directly commanded. The demon cultivator's heart jerked, and he cautiously said, "I dare not deceive, Master. I am too weak now without my physical body. I am unable to perform the spell, and might not be able to release the talismans on Wei Zihao and the others for now." "So, you were deceiving me before?" asked Lu Qing coldly. The demon cultivator was greatly frightened and hastily explained, "I did not intend to deceive, Master. It was merely a desperate measure earlier. Rest assured, Master, as soon as my divine soul power recovers a bit, I will immediately release the talismans on Wei Zihao and the others." "And how can you recover?" Lu Qing asked. The demon cultivator hesitated, then carefully responded, "If I could absorb some primordial demon qi, I should be able to recover quickly. This matter we'll set aside. Let me think it over. Besides this, isn't there another way to remove the talismans, or at least stop them from draining their life energy?" Upon hearing this, Lu Qing knew the intentions of the demon cultivator. Naturally, the one of the same origin with the demon cultivator was his own demon body. However, thinking of the implications, Lu Qing did not want him to return to his demon body just yet. After all, this demon had a profound background, hailing from the mysterious heavenly origin great world. Although now enslaved by his divine soul, who knew whether he had a secret technique to break free from the enslavement? There are no certainties in this world. Without absolute assurance, Lu Qing was not looking to complicate matters. Master's teachings are correct. Though disappointed, the demon cultivator knew that having just been enslaved, it wouldn't be easy to gain Lu Qing's trust. Hence, he did not show it, instead humbly saying, "If not completely removing the talismans and merely stopping their operation, that's much simpler. One just needs to know how to control the spell, and I shall teach it to Master right now." Saying this, the demon cultivator transmitted a divine soul fluctuation to Lu Qing through the divine soul enslavement mark on his true spirit. The divine soul enslavement mark was the key connection between the two. It allowed the master and slave to communicate through the heart and spirit at any moment. However, such a connection only acknowledged a hierarchy. The enslaved could not sense any activities of the master. Even when communicating through the heart and spirit, he could only transmit thoughts in the form of requests. Whether the other side accepts or not, that is up to the master's mood. On the other hand, as the master, Lu Qing had absolute initiative. He could sense the changes in the thoughts of the demon cultivator whenever he pleased and could even control the thoughts to make him self-destruct his divine soul instantaneously. Moreover, if the demon cultivator fell, it would have no effect on him, but if he died, the demon cultivator would also perish. Such was the terror of divine soul enslavement. Unless absolutely necessary, or there really was no other way, no cultivator would willingly accept such enslavement. Legacy found. Initiate download simulation? As he received the thoughts from the demon cultivator, this message also appeared in Lu Qing's mind. He did not hesitate and chose to simulate the download. Chapter 562. Mental Recovery. Changes in the World. Lu Qing's Plan. When Lu Qing woke up from meditation and put away the leaving fire tripod, Wei Xinghe hurriedly asked, "Young Master Lu, how did it go?" Having seen Lu Qing take out the leaving fire tripod earlier, Wei Xinghe had vaguely guessed that the demon cultivator might not be completely annihilated. After all, he had seen very clearly that when the demon cultivator's body was collected by Lu Qing, A streak of black light had flown out from his body. It was then taken into the leaving fire tripod by Lu Qing. Thus, he roughly understood the method Lu Qing spoke of. To fully release Zaheo and the others from their talismans will still take some days. However, I have found a way to restore their consciousness, said Lu Qing. Really? Wei Xinghe was overjoyed upon hearing this. Previously, what pained him most about Zaheo was the total change in his personality. That unrecognizable, cold and ruthless demeanor was still chilling to think of. Now, hearing Lu Qing say that their consciousness could be restored, how could he not be ecstatic? Let me try this first. Lu Qing formed a spell with his hand. His heart and spirit activated, and strange waves penetrated the minds of Wei Zaheo and the other Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples. Wei Zaheo and the others were still postnatal realm martial artists. Their brow chakras had not yet opened, and their divine souls were weak. And being unconscious, they naturally couldn't resist the invasion of Lu Qing's heart spirit. Quickly, Lu Qing found the demonic chi mark left by the demon cultivator in their minds that controlled their consciousness. Following the controlling spell taught by the demon cultivator, Lu Qing activated his divine soul power and swiftly dissolved the demonic chi mark. Then he stimulated their hearts and spirits, causing them to awaken. Cough, cough. Wei Xinghe, who had been watching Lu Qing cast the spell anxiously, then saw Wei Zaheo and the others shake their bodies and slowly open their eyes. What happened? Where are we? Wei Zaheo and the others woke up, looked around, and appeared bewildered. At that moment, they were in a cave, with only a flickering firelight, barely able to make out their surroundings. Zaheo! Wei Xinghe saw his son's clear eyes, no longer the fiendish coldness he exhibited in the city, and realized that he had really recovered his mind, and immediately was immensely relieved. Father, why are you here? Wei Zaheo was startled to see his father, and as he tried to get up, he found his body weak and sore, unable to move, which shocked him even more. My body! Don't try to move yet. Wei Xinghe stopped his son. You were controlled by that demon cultivator, losing your minds and having talismans implanted in you. Now the talismans are deeply embedded, continuously draining your vitality. So young Master Lu has temporarily sealed your chi blood. Wei Xinghe slowly narrated what he understood. Demon cultivators controlling the mind, losing consciousness, implanting talismans. Wei Zaheo and the others listened to Wei Xinghe's account, and the memories of being controlled began to gradually surface. Their faces slowly showed anguish. This was the terrifying aspect of the demon cultivator's talismans. Those controlled by him were twisted in their consciousness but were aware. Even if one day the control marks of the demonic chi were dissolved, the memories of being controlled wouldn't vanish. Those evil memories can easily corrupt someone's consciousness, making them succumb again to the demon path. Fortunately, Wei Zaheo and the others hadn't been controlled for too long, and the demon cultivator, in an attempt to conceal his tracks, only had them covertly arrange array nodes and didn't compel them to commit more evil deeds. This meant that although Wei Zaheo and the others remembered the moments of being controlled, at least their consciousness remained intact and didn't degenerate. Zaheo, how were you controlled by that demon cultivator? And how was the Qingyun Sword Pavilion destroyed? Once Wei Zaheo and the others felt better and were somewhat stable, Wei Xinghe finally asked the doubts that had been troubling his mind. Lu Qing remained silent. Although he had learned the details from the demon cultivator, he too wanted to hear what Wei Zaheo and the others had to say. It would also help validate whether the demon cultivator was deceiving him. Hearing Wei Xinghe's question, Wei Zaheo and the others showed very complex expressions. Both fear and anger appeared in their eyes. After a while, when Wei Zaheo calmed down a bit, he finally said, Father, the demon cultivator isn't someone else. He is our Sword Pavilion's martial uncle. And our Sword Pavilion was destroyed by him. Even the sect master was tortured to death by his own hands. Wei Zaheo and the others took turns and slowly recounted the downfall of Qingyun Sword Pavilion. Wei Xinghe listened, trembling deeply, never expecting that Qingyun Sword Pavilion had such a sinister and strange martial uncle. Sending his son there years ago had truly been like sending a lamb into a tiger's den. Had it not been for Lu Qing this time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Not only would he and his son have died, but the entire State Mansion City would have fallen into an irreversible disaster. Sect Master was tortured to death by martial uncle, and before we could escape Jizhou, he caught up with us again, taking the secret artifacts of our sect. Later, we were controlled by him. A talisman was placed on us. Following martial uncle's orders, we spent several months quietly setting up numerous array nodes in State Mansion City. After that, you know what happened once the array was activated, Father. At this point, regret was evident in Wei Ziheo's eyes. From his memory, he knew that after the array was activated, many citizens in State Mansion City lost their lives. Although they were under Demon Cultivator's control when they set the array, the deaths of those citizens were indeed partly their responsibility too. Chapter 563. So Wei Ziheo's heart was in pain. The expressions on the faces of the other Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples also showed guilt. Alright, everything's in the past now. The arrays in the State Mansion City have been resolved and the Demon Cultivator has been slain. What you did in the city you did not do of your own free will. It is not your fault, so you need not fret too much about it. Wei Xinghe saw the guilt in his son and the others and comforted them. Whether they could let go of it depended on their own temperaments. Fortunately for Wei Ziheo and the others, being disciples from a prestigious sect, their wills were fairly strong. After a while, they temporarily stabilized their emotions. Wei Ziheo asked, "By the way, Father, where are we now?" "We are in a cave not far from the outskirts of the State Mansion City. Young Master Lu said the demonic talismans you were afflicted with were particularly troublesome. They take vitality from your bodies in exchange for power. If not resolved soon, you would have died from vitality exhaustion. It was young Master Lu who just released you from the control over your hearts and spirits, allowing you to regain your senses," explained Wei Xinghe. Wei Ziheo and the others shuddered and looked towards Lu Qing with awe in their eyes. Since the memories of being controlled were not lost, they all knew how terrifying the young man before them could be. Like those Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples who had personally experienced Lu Qing's strength. They still did not know what power Lu Qing had used at that time to effortlessly suppress them. Disciples who then possessed the strength of the innate realm. Wei Ziheo did not even need to mention his experience. His fellow disciples had been suppressed into unconsciousness by Lu Qing in advance and did not see his fight with the Demon Cultivator. But Wei Ziheo had watched the whole battle from start to finish. Thus, he knew even more how terrifying Lu Qing's strength was. It was something he couldn't even dream of. "Thank you, young Master Lu, for saving our lives and for slaying that Demon Cultivator, avenging our Qingyun Sword Sect's deep-seated grudge," Wei Ziheo said, unable to stand. So he managed to clench his fists and bowed, his face filled with gratitude. "Thank you, young Master Lu, for saving our lives." The other Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples also respectfully expressed their thanks. "No need for formalities. Here is a bottle of healing elixir. You can share it. The talismans within you are temporarily suppressed by me. After taking the elixir, by tomorrow your injuries should be no concern. Then we will leave for Tsang County and see about removing the talismans from your bodies," said Lu Qing, handing a bottle of elixir to Wei Ziheo and the others. While they were taking the elixir and healing, his heart and spirit entered the leaving fire tripod again. "Master, have their hearts and spirits recovered?" asked the Demon Cultivator eagerly as he saw Lu Qing enter. In the spiritual artifact space where everything is sealed, the Demon Cultivator in his present realm could not sense the outside world. "Indeed, the demonic marks in their minds have been removed by me. They have regained their senses. You were wise not to deceive me." Lu Qing nodded. "This slave wouldn't dare. Now that I am enslaved, if I had other intentions, how could I deceive you, Master?" The Demon Cultivator hurriedly said. The core of the Demon Cultivator's true spirit had been marked with Lu Qing's divine soul, completely enslaving him. Any thought against Lu Qing within him would be sensed by Lu Qing. So now, he absolutely did not dare harbor any other small schemes. Hearing this, Lu Qing remained non-committal. Indeed, under the enslavement of the divine soul, he could sense the fluctuations in the demon cultivator's thoughts at any time. But even so, he would never fully trust the words of this demon cultivator, because he knew the cultivation world was vast with countless cultivators with profound cultivation. For example, in the heavenly origin great world, there were innumerable wielders of great divine power. Strange and numerous cultivation techniques were as vast as the sea. Who knew if there might be some strange cultivation technique capable of resolving the enslavement of the divine soul? Who knows if this demon cultivator hasn't cultivated some evil technique that could allow thoughts to escape his detection? Fine, considering your relative honesty, I'll give you a bit of demonic chi first to let this strand of your divine soul recover somewhat. Once you have recovered to a certain extent, immediately remove the talismans from Wei Zihao and the others. After Lu Qing spoke, a black severed palm suddenly appeared in front of him, and he threw it to the demon cultivator. It was the very palm that he had cut off with his war saber during their previous battle. "Thank you, master." The demon cultivator, seeing the severed palm, was overjoyed and immediately pounced on it, beginning to absorb the demonic chi within. He had previously been refined by Lu Qing using the spirit fire in the tripod, and his origin had been greatly depleted, bringing him to a precarious state. If he didn't quickly absorb the demonic chi to replenish his origin, he feared it wouldn't be long before he might collapse and dissipate without Lu Qing lifting a finger. While the demon cultivator was recovering by absorbing demonic chi, a figure known as Yen appeared beside Lu Qing. "Young master, do you intend to spare this demon cultivator's life? Let's keep him for now. This demon cultivator has an unusual origin, and I have some things I want to inquire about. He may still be of use for now," Lu Qing said indifferently. This demon cultivator's predecessor had come from the heavenly origin great world, something Lu Qing was quite curious about. "Young master, as long as you are aware, but be cautious. Demon cultivators are innately deceitful, and this one has a strange origin. Ensuring soul enslavement is not entirely foolproof," Yen warned. "Don't worry, elder. I have my own plans," Lu Qing said. He had never intended to let this demon cultivator out of the spiritual artifact space. As long as he was within the spiritual artifact space, Lu Qing had 1,000 ways to control him. Moreover, he had never said he would definitely let him live. Seeing Lu Qing's confidence, Yen nodded and then said no more. Yen had experienced the intricacy of Lu Qing's mind. When this youth planned against others, even Yen itself had been caught off guard. Since he already had plans, there was naturally no need for further persuasion. The conversation between Lu Qing and Yen, though seemingly spoken in front of the demon cultivator, received no reaction from him. For in the spiritual artifact space, everything was controlled by Lu Qing and Yen. Their conversation, naturally, would not be heard by the demon cultivator. After throwing the severed palm to the demon cultivator, Lu Qing's heart and spirit did not linger in the leaving fire tripod and soon exited. He checked and, seeing that Wei Zihao and the others were still healing, he did not disturb them. He continued to sit cross-legged, but his divine soul power emerged from the aperture between his brows and dispersed all around, sensing the heaven and earth space around him. Today, the fourth occurrence of the heaven and earth Tao sound had resonated, and he had yet to properly sense the changes in the world around him. Lu Qing's divine soul power was now very strong, comparable to a real cultivator of the foundation establishment stage. Thus, he quickly sensed a difference in the world around him. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth had become even more intense. That was certain. But what interested Lu Qing the most was the fact that, after the fourth heaven and earth Tao sound, the evolution of the rules of heaven and earth had become more stable and complete. Originally, after his breakthrough to Qi refining great success, the invisible rule suppression he felt had disappeared. He knew that this was because the rules of heaven and earth had evolved further and become more accommodating for the birth of stronger cultivators. This meant, in the coming days, he no longer had to worry about his cultivation speed being too fast, as had occurred on his way to Central State. Despite reaching the required cultivation realm, he was unable to break through due to the imperfect rules of heaven and earth. This time, the evolution of the heaven and earth rules was ahead of his increase in cultivation. Going forward, if he continued his cultivation in an orderly manner, reaching the foundation establishment stage should encounter no further obstacles. Realizing this, a sense of joy emerged in Lu Qing's heart. Although the further complete heaven and earth rules relaxed the constraints on powerful beings, those several mysterious secret lands might see the emergence of real powerhouses. However, with Lu Qing's current strength, even facing a real foundation establishment stage, he was not afraid. Moreover, he possessed several spiritual artifacts. With these powerful weapons in hand, not just ordinary foundation establishment stages, but even those at perfect foundation establishment, he felt confident in confronting them. Suspended Mountain. I hope you will bring me some surprises when the time comes. A sharp intent appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. Chapter 564. Disturbance in the Secret Land, Expanding Horizons. Suspended Mountain Secret Realm. When the fourth heaven and earth Dao sound rang out, everyone stopped their actions and silently listened. The Dao sound was vast and boundless, echoing through the 8 directions of heaven and earth, and even the secret realm could not stop it. It wasn't until the Dao sound faded and ceased to ring that everyone came back to their senses, causing a stir of commotion. The fourth heaven and earth Dao sound. It has come so quickly? I can feel it. The concentration of spiritual energy within the secret realm is increasing. The fourth heaven and earth Dao sound signifies that the heaven and earth rules of the outside world are evolving to become even more perfect. People in the secret realm discussed animatedly. Inside the ancient temple at the summit of Suspended Mountain, several powerful wills were also in the midst of a discussion. The fourth Dao sound has rung. The heaven and earth rules of the outside world will soon evolve to a level that can accommodate us. Not enough, the fourth Dao sound signifies that the rules can accommodate those at the foundation establishment stage to move freely. But if we wish to go further, to surpass the Golden Core Tribulation, it is far from sufficient. We must wait at least for the fifth Dao sound. There's no rush. This fourth Dao sound came faster than we expected. The fifth Dao sound should not be too far off. Moreover, since the fourth Dao sound has rung, it signifies that the evolution of the outside world's heaven and earth rules has already become quite perfect and stable. According to ancient records, some heaven and earth opportunities should also be about to emerge. Perhaps it's also time to let the disciples of the secret land to go out and train. Indeed, our secret realm is after all only a subspace existing attached to the main world. The rules within are naturally flawed. Without the disciples going out to train, their foundation will be unstable. Then let them go out and train for now. Our Suspended Mountain, after all, needs to take root in the main world to truly develop and grow. Also, didn't we already locate the little thief who dared to offend the majesty of our Suspended Mountain at the Wujin building last time? While we're at it, see if we can capture him and convert him. Excellent! That young man is clearly one of the significant beings of fortune in this era, and if he converts to our Buddhism, he could add a few layers of heritage for our Suspended Mountain. Before long, a Buddha's order flew out from the small temple at the summit, descending down the mountain. It quickly arrived at the majestic hall on the mountainside and fell into the hands of Tower Master Xin. Tower Master Xin's face turned stern after reading the contents of the Buddha's order. He immediately had someone ring the Buddha bell in the bell tower. The deep and resonant sound of the bell rang out, and all the Buddhist monks within the secret realm of Suspended Mountain trembled upon hearing it. And then they all rushed towards the location of the great heroic treasure hall, accompanied by the reverberating bell. In the settlement where the Wujin building was located, the Tower Master with a strange and mysterious aura stood atop the wooden pagoda, looking up at the gigantic mountainous mass suspended in the center of the secret realm. Tower Master, Suspended Mountain has rung the Buddha bell. What is their intention? Elder Yu's figure appeared beside the Tower Master, similarly looking up at the huge mass in the sky. What else can it be? With the fourth heaven and earth Dao sound rising, the outside world's heaven and earth rules are further evolving and perfecting. It seems Suspended Mountain is finally about to make a move. Wujin Building Master spoke languidly. Are you saying Suspended Mountain will emerge? Elder Yu was shocked. Whether it's true or not, we'll know in a few days. Then Tower Master, what should we do? Being under the roof, what can we do? We can only wait and see if this compassionate holy land of Buddhists has any use for us, the people of darkness, to do some disgraceful deeds. Wujin Building Master spoke flatly, yet there was a hint of helplessness in his tone. Elder Yu fell silent. He knew this was the reality that Wujin Building faced. In front of Suspended Mountain, which had absolute control over the secret realm and an unfathomably deep foundation, they were barely stronger than ants. It would be effortless for them to be crushed to death. So, in the face of absolute power, no matter how many schemes they had, they could only suppress them deep within their hearts, not daring to show the slightest hint. Elder Yu, you previously went out to probe for news and said that the changes in the outside world were substantial? Suddenly, Wujin Building Master asked. Indeed, the outside world has changed greatly and is starting to align with what our ancestors have recorded. Especially since the recovery of spiritual energy, the world of cultivation outside has been erupting like a fountain. Even more so, powerful martial artists have reached inconceivably powerful states, far surpassing anything we could have imagined. Elder Yu recalled the Elder Doctor and that terrifying demon cultivator he had encountered when he went out to gather information. His heart still trembled just thinking about it. Even with his own formidable power, he was almost powerless in front of those two. Had it not been for the exotic treasure given by the Tower Master at the time, he wouldn't have even had a chance to escape. Good. The stronger the outside world's powers are, the better. Wujin Building Master nodded. That way, there will come a day when Suspended Mountain will need us, and that will also be Wujin Building's only chance to break free from Suspended Mountain's control. Wujin Building Master looked at the gigantic mountain in the sky, as well as the distant splendorous temples on the mountain. The resources within this secret realm were almost entirely controlled by Suspended Mountain. Their survival was difficult enough, let alone cultivation. They longed for an end to such days at every moment. But in the thousands of years before, their predecessors couldn't find any opportunities to break away from Suspended Mountain. The array at the entrance of the secret realm was controlled by Suspended Mountain, and only powerful monks with profound understanding of the Buddha Dharma were qualified to open it. Without permission, they simply could not find the opportunity to leave. At the very least, their ancestors had made numerous secret efforts for generations, but had never seen a glimmer of hope. Chapter 565. Escape from the secret realm was out of the question, let alone touching the Suspended Mountain that hovered in the sky, which no disciple from Wujin Building had managed to reach in 1,000 years. After all, even someone as strong as the perfect innate realm couldn't achieve sky crossing, nor wind-controlling flight. But if the outside world was truly as Elder Yu had said, teeming with powerful beings, then the Suspended Mountain couldn't dominate the world alone. Perhaps that was their only chance to break free from it. As Suspended Mountain began its busy arrangements, the other few great secret lands also took different actions in response to the resounding of the heaven and earth Tao sound once again. Cloud Water Secret Realm. This secret land was very different from Suspended Mountain. There were lakes and islands of all sizes everywhere, with mist intertwining with the clouds above. Giant birds occasionally flew through it, both awe-inspiring and ethereal, like a fairyland. Among them, on an island in the largest lake, large birds continued to arrive from all directions, with one or two figures riding on their backs, landing on the island. Senior brother, what is the purpose of our ancestral master gathering us here? A bright-eyed and white-toothed young girl asked, descending from the sky on a white bird. As soon as she touched the ground, she couldn't wait to inquire. I don't know either. The senior brother shook his head. Could it be related to the previous heaven and earth Tao sound? Another young man asked. Unclear. When the ancestral masters come out, we will naturally know. The senior brother still didn't give a definite answer. While all the Cloudwater Secret Realm disciples were guessing the reason for their summoning, suddenly, a few gentle and ethereal breaths appeared from ahead. Several elders in plain robes descended from the sky. All the disciples immediately showed respect, bowing in unison. "We greet the ancestral masters. Dispense with the formalities. We called you here this time because there is a task for you," the leading elder said gently. All of the disciples wore solemn expressions, listening quietly. The Tao sound has sounded for the fourth time, and the evolution of the rules of heaven and earth outside has become increasingly stable. After discussing with a few ancestral masters, we believe it might be time for you to go out and experience trials. Similar to the Cloudwater secret realm, the same thing was occurring in another two secret lands. In the face of the fourth resounding of the heaven and earth Tao sound, the four great secret places made a shockingly unanimous decision. That was to let their disciples venture into the world for training. It was not only to temper the disciples but also to remove obstacles and pave the way for the day when their sect would truly appear in the world. Despite the turmoil outside, it did not affect Lu Qing in the slightest. Wei Zihao and others, after taking their healing medicine, improved significantly the next day and were essentially moving without hindrance. Lu Qing and Wei Xinghe, without stopping for rest, led the group back to Jili village straight away and settled them down in the Wei family's separate residence. 2 more days passed, and after the demon cultivator absorbed the demonic qi from his severed palm and his divine soul recovered somewhat, he finally lifted the talismans within Wei Zihao and the others. However, although the talismans were lifted, the symbols had drained too much vitality qi from them. Not only was their foundation damaged, but their lifespans had also diminished to various degrees. Especially Wei Zihao, who had used the talisman too forcefully when chasing Wei Xinghe, had the most severe lifespan depletion. So much so that when the talisman was lifted, a streak of white hair appeared on his temples. This caused Mrs. Wei to learn the truth and break down in uncontrollable tears. Wei Zian was also very upset about his brother's ordeal, cursing himself for not being at Zhou Mansion at the time to kill the despicable demon cultivator. On the contrary, after this disaster, Wei Zihao's mindset had become very calm. Far from blaming heaven and others, he even comforted his mother and brother, saying that it was fortunate for him to have survived such a great disaster. Losing a bit of lifespan was nothing in the grand scheme. Compared to those sect members who were tortured to death, his fate was already lucky enough. Wei Zihao's steadiness greatly pleased Wei Shanhai and Wei Xinghe. Although Wei Zihao experienced a calamity that nearly cost him his life, it was clear that after this trial, his temperament had greatly hardened. It was a blessing in disguise. As for the lost lifespan, as long as he diligently cultivated, there might still be hope to regain it should he step into the innate realm in the future. After resolving everything, Lu Qing returned to his usual quiet life. Aside from his necessary cultivation, he spent his days farming, fishing, or guiding Little Yan's cultivation. After Little Yan's breakthrough, Lu Qing also selected a suitable qi eating skill for her and taught it to her to cultivate slowly. As for spells and the like, Lu Qing had no immediate plans to teach them. Little Yan was still young and of inconstant mind. Practicing spells too early could easily lead her to become obsessed and confuse the ends with the means. Given her current situation, she should still focus on building a solid foundation. Therefore, Lu Qing temporarily only taught Little Yan the qi-eating skill to condense spiritual power every day. In these leisurely days, Lu Qing would occasionally communicate with the demon cultivator using heart and spirit to inquire about the affairs of the heavenly origin great world. The demon cultivator had been enslaved by Lu Qing's divine soul enslavement mark, so when asked by his master, he naturally did not dare conceal anything and told all. Thus, a few days later, even though Lu Qing seemed to have nothing particular to do, his horizons and knowledge about cultivation were soaring every day. "What did you say? You know how to use merit light?" One day, Lu Qing was chatting leisurely with the demon cultivator as usual. He suddenly asked the demon cultivator nonchalantly if he understood how to use merit light. When asking this question, Lu Qing wasn't hoping much. After all, good and evil do not align. He didn't think that a demon cultivator would understand the use of merit light. To his surprise, the demon cultivator gave him an unexpected answer. Replying to Master, This humble servant does indeed know some ways to use merit light. The demon cultivator answered respectfully. In the heavenly origin great world, there are numerous sects, among which the Buddhist sects are very powerful, and quite a few of them exist. Those bald monks often have major conflicts with us demon cultivators. This humble servant has once killed several not-so-weak Buddhist practitioners and obtained some Buddhist skills. Among them were methods of using merit light. Hearing the demon cultivator's words, Lu Qing was quite surprised. Unexpectedly, he had found what he searched for without effort. Merit light techniques he wanted to find were actually in the possession of a demon cultivator. Thinking of this, he felt it to be quite absurd. Then tell me, what kinds of techniques for using merit light do you understand? Lu Qing immediately asked. Yes, master. The demon cultivator replied respectfully. However, master, in my past life I was a demon general, and I practiced authentic demon Dao techniques passed down by the demon lord. My innate demonic qi naturally repels Buddha's energy. Therefore, after obtaining those Buddhist Taoist techniques, I did not cultivate them. I only studied them briefly before casting them aside. Moreover, as this thread of my true spirit soul has undergone numerous rebirths, much of my memory has been lost. Thus, master, what I remember now about the use of merit light amounts to only 2 techniques. Should master require it, I can pass them on to master right away. However, master, I couldn't cultivate these 2 techniques, so I'm not sure if they are truly useful. No matter, pass them over to me. Through the divine soul enslavement mark, Lu Qing could sense that the demon cultivator was not lying. So he said directly. After all, he had superpower which could deduce and understand, and he would know at a glance whether the techniques were genuine or not. Yes, master. Soon, Lu Qing received the information sent by the demon cultivator through the divine soul enslavement mark. At the same time, he received a prompt from his superpower. Discovery of a technique inheritance. Proceed with download simulation. He didn't hesitate and chose to download and simulate immediately. Downloading current progress 1%, 2%, 3%, 98%, 99%, 100%. Download complete. Proceed with simulation. Lu Qing chose to simulate. Simulating current progress 1%, 2%, 3%, 99%, 100%. Simulation complete. Proceed with learning. Lu Qing chose to learn. The next moment, a flood of enlightenment information surged from the depths of his mind. Already accustomed to such feelings, Lu Qing immediately closed his eyes and silently received these enlightenments. After a while, when he opened his eyes again, they were filled with amazement. Chapter 566. The Merit Clothing, Taking the Initiative to Attack. I hadn't expected the techniques to be of such nature. Lu Qing mused after he had comprehended the 2 techniques passed down by the demon cultivator, his eyes gleaming with surprise and delight. The 2 techniques were both related to the use of merit light. One was called merit clothing, a unique cultivation technique. The other was a technique on how to condense treasures of merit. Both techniques emphasized the use of merit light, and knowledge of Buddhist Taoist techniques was not necessary for their cultivation. Thus, even Lu Qing could cultivate them. However, when it came to making a choice, Lu Qing found himself in a dilemma. He had resolved the catastrophe that befell the state mansion city and, touched by heaven and earth, was granted merit. Although he had acquired a considerable amount of merit light, it wasn't enough to allow him to cultivate both techniques. Therefore, he could only choose one to cultivate. Lu Qing began to ponder the pros and cons of each technique. Merit clothing would involve condensing the merit light he had acquired into clothing using a specific technique. Once attained, merit clothing could attract good fortune, avoid disasters, deter evildoers, and protect the mind and spirit. It was particularly effective in defending against attacks on the divine soul. It was a cultivation technique that leaned towards defense of the divine soul. Moreover, as the merit light increased, merit clothing could be advanced. At its highest level, it could transform into merit heavenly robe, a powerful force that all evil spirits would shun, causing even demon lords and generals to fear its might. Of course, to condense the merit heavenly robe, one would need an enormous amount of merit light. This was beyond the small amount of merit light located in the spiritual aperture between Lu Qing's eyebrows. Moreover, the technique passed down by the demon cultivator only mentioned merit heavenly robe and lacked the specific spells for its condensation. Regarding the technique for crafting treasures of merit, to be honest, compared to merit clothing, it fell short. It mainly detailed how to infuse merit light into magical treasures. The crafted treasures of merit were effective against devilish cultivators, evil cultivators, and other evil forces. However, Lu Qing felt that its crafting method was not as mysterious as that of merit clothing. After thinking for a while, Lu Qing ultimately decided to cultivate merit clothing. He couldn't help but aspire to the technique's higher levels, despite knowing he might have difficulty acquiring more merit light in the future. Even beginner-level merit clothing would provide a defense that made him envious. Fortunately, he estimated that the merit light in the space within his spiritual aperture was just enough to initiate the practice of this technique. After making his decision, Lu Qing activated his superpower and began to focus wholeheartedly on comprehending the cultivation technique of merit clothing. Not long after, a warm aura emanated from his body. Half an hour later, a faint golden light emerged from him. The golden beams intertwined to form a plain-looking vestment robe that draped over Lu Qing. Is this the merit clothing? Lu Qing opened his eyes, looking at the robe on him with some astonishment. The robe appeared light and thin, but he could sense that it was imbued with an incredibly mystical power. It could protect his heart and spirit well, guarding against evil spirits' invasions. Young master, this is... Yan sensed the change in Lu Qing and emerged from the leaving fire tripod as an apparition, gazing in astonishment at the merit clothing on Lu Qing. It could feel that the vestment robe was filled with very rich merit power. I obtained a technique from a demon cultivator that uses merit light, Lu Qing explained. I tried cultivating it just now and, unexpectedly, I succeeded on the first attempt. Yen was not surprised that Lu Qing had obtained a cultivation technique from the demon cultivator, given the demon cultivator was spiritually enslaved by Lu Qing and couldn't go against his will. What really shocked it was the speed of Lu Qing's cultivation. Seeing the aura of the vestment robe on Lu Qing, it was evident the technique was highly mystical. Yet Lu Qing had managed to cultivate it successfully in silence. Despite having witnessed Lu Qing's perceptiveness more than once, Yen couldn't help but be astounded once again. Lu Qing felt the subtlety of the merit clothing for a moment and then retracted it into his body. Once the merit clothing was cultivated, it automatically protected its wearer without requiring any further attention from him. A truly profound technique. When the master returns, I can also teach him this technique to see if he can also condense the merit clothing. After experiencing the subtlety of the merit clothing, Lu Qing was confident. His master had always shown medical benevolence and had accumulated substantial merit light over his decades of practice. If he could condense merit clothing, it would bring him great benefits. However, the master had already gone to the mountains to gather herbs a few days ago, and Lu Qing had no idea when he would return. He would have to wait for his return before he could pass on the technique. Just as Lu Qing was contemplating this, suddenly he was struck by a thought. Shortly after, a voice came from outside the courtyard. "Young Master Lu, are you there? Family Master Wei, please come in." Soon, Wei Xinghe's figure appeared in the courtyard. "Family Master Wei, has something happened?" Lu Qing asked, noticing a certain seriousness on Wei Xinghe's face. "It's like this, young Master Lu. I've just received a message from a spy in the prefecture. It said that from the West State, a powerful group of monks has appeared and, in a very short time, subdued many sects and united the West State." Chapter 567, The Merit Clothing, Taking the Initiative to Attack Part 2. They immediately began major construction in the name of Suspended Mountain, building temples, making significant movements. Oh, has Suspended Mountain finally decided to make its appearance? Upon hearing this, Lu Qing's eyebrows twitched. Yet he wasn't too surprised. He had already learned from the assassin of Wujin building that the suspended mountain secret realm was located in the West State. Now that the heaven and earth Dao sound had sounded for the fourth time and the rules of heaven and earth had further evolved, it was time for the major secret lands to come forth. If they didn't appear now, they might lose the chance to benefit from the revival of spiritual energy. Have similar incidents occurred in other places as well? Lu Qing asked. Young Master Lu has the foresight of a sage. Indeed, in several other great states, similar situations have unfolded. A group of mysterious experts suddenly appeared, sweeping through a state, establishing their dominion. Which other great states are involved? Wei Xinghe immediately mentioned several state names, leaving Lu Qing quite surprised. He realized that not a single one of the major secret lands was located within the central state. It was unclear whether, during the times of declining spiritual energy and deteriorating heaven and earth in ancient times, Central State underwent the most drastic changes, having no secret realms surviving, or if there were other reasons. Very well, I understand, Wei family master. Now that the changes in heaven and earth are becoming even more drastic, even the four great secret lands can no longer remain hidden. You can imagine, the days to come will undoubtedly become even more chaotic. Thus, it's better for everyone to stay put and focus on discreet cultivation for the time being. All right, I shall caution Zihao and Xian as soon as I return. Without needing further explanation from Lu Qing, Wei Xinghe already knew what to do. Now that even the legendary four great secret lands were emerging to claim territories, the world was likely on the brink of great chaos. Only a fool would choose to venture out during such times. Moreover, since Lu Qing had set up an array, the spiritual energy around Jili village had grown increasingly dense, gradually showing signs of evolving into a blessed land. Wei Xinghe could feel that cultivating in the annex allowed not only rapid growth in cultivation but also great peace of mind and spirit. There was absolutely no need to worry about the risk of deviation. Knowing that all these changes were thanks to Lu Qing, Wei Xinghe would certainly not waste this opportunity. After Wei Xinghe left, Lu Qing sank into deep thought. The choice of the four great secret lands to emerge at this point was not beyond his expectations. The heaven and earth Dao sound had already sounded 4 times, and the rules of heaven and earth had evolved to allow foundation establishment cultivators to move freely. According to Yen, as the rules of heaven and earth continued to evolve, more changes would occur. For example, certain natural treasures would likely soon make their emergence. Even those legendary secret realm spaces might re-evolve before long. Under such circumstances, the four great secret lands naturally had to emerge earlier to make preparations, to be ready for the upcoming competition for various heavenly opportunities. Lu Qing wondered if he should take this chance to visit West State and give Suspended Mountain a surprise. After all, Suspended Mountain had just appeared, and although it had unified West State, it must still be unstable. If he took this opportunity to visit West State, he might deliver them a significant surprise. After some thought, Lu Qing finally decided it was worth a try. The feud between him and Suspended Mountain could not be resolved. Rather than waiting for them to stabilize their footing and come after him, it would be better if he took the initiative to strike first, dealing a severe blow. Even if he couldn't destroy them, he could at least inflict severe pain and cripple them, disrupt their footing and leave them no opportunity to confront him. With this in mind, Lu Qing immediately started making preparations. The following day, after his master returned from collecting herbs in the mountains and the big array was manned, he quietly left Jili village with little Li, heading towards West State. Young master, are you really going to West State? On the way, Yen communicated with Lu Qing using Divine Soul Talisman transmission from within the Leaving Fire tripod. Yes. The grievance between Suspended Mountain and me runs deep. If I wait for them to completely control West State, they will probably act against me. Lu Qing wasn't afraid of being targeted himself, but little Yen and the villagers of Jili village might not be so lucky. Suspended Mountain had been passed down since the ancient cultivation era. Its profound heritage assuredly boasted numerous trump cards. The array he had laid out was simplified. It was hard to say whether it could fully fend off the retaliation from an ancient secret land. So, rather than waiting to be attacked passively, it was better to strike first. If that suspended mountain secret realm is truly the suspended mountain from the ancient immortal cultivation era, young master, you should be careful. Yen reminded inside the leaving fire tripod. Those monks are extraordinary, even among the top forces during the ancient immortal cultivation era. Surviving the tens of thousands of years of spiritual energy depletion and continuing their legacy, they likely possess many methods. I know, don't worry, senior. I'll be careful, Lu Qing responded. Just be aware. Seeing that Lu Qing was not recklessly charging ahead, Yen felt considerably more at ease. If it had been right when Lu Qing took control of the leaving fire tripod, Yen would never have felt this way. Threatened to relinquish control of the leaving fire tripod, it would have wished for Lu Qing's immediate death rather than advising him. But having observed Lu Qing over these days, his terrifying, heaven-defying cultivation talent and perception, Yan's attitude had completely changed. It knew that with Lu Qing's cultivation talent, as long as he didn't fall midway, his future achievements would be unimaginable. Even compared with those formidable existences at the pinnacle of the cultivation world during the ancient immortal cultivation era, he would not be inferior. And if it ever wanted to escape its cage, its only hope lay with Lu Qing. Thus, it genuinely had Lu Qing's best interests at heart and didn't want him to run into any mishaps. Lu Qing naturally sensed the change in Yan's attitude but didn't mention it outright. Instead, he continued westward with Little Li. West State wasn't exactly close to Tsang State. Even separated by two great states and despite Lu Qing having the aid of spirit talismans and traveling day and night, it still took a full 2 days to reach the edge of West State. Upon arriving in West State, Lu Qing didn't rush to enter. Instead, he took half a day to regulate his breath, replenish his diet, and bring himself to peak condition before preparing to act. Using his powerful physical control ability, he employed the transformation and disguise technique acquired from an assassin of the Seven Killings Tower. He altered the muscles and bones of his face to take on another appearance. Then, pulling out a ghost face mask from the Chenkuan Chi bag, he put it on. Finally, the divine soul talisman in his brow point transformed. Now, Lu Qing's physique, appearance, and even divine soul aura were completely changed. He was confident that even his master might not recognize him. Unexpectedly, the human's method of transformation and disguise also has such unique aspects. Yen, observing Lu Qing, who had changed his appearance entirely, exclaimed in surprise. It knew from Lu Qing that what he deployed was a secret technique developed by human martial artists, expressing its amazement. It also understood that Lu Qing had indeed come prepared and felt even more relieved. During the period of spiritual energy depletion, martial artists could only cultivate up to the innate realm. Beyond that, due to the restrictions of heaven and earth rules, they couldn't break through. Many martial artists, losing hope in breaking the limit with strength, turned to study various exquisite martial techniques and secret techniques. That's why this method of transformation emerged. Lu Qing explained with a smile. As his understanding of cultivation deepened day by day, he gradually sorted out how martial arts had evolved and developed over these tens of thousands of years of spiritual energy depletion. Indeed, the wisdom of your human race is endless. Yen exclaimed in admiration upon hearing this. In the ancient immortal cultivation era, the human race was famously strong in perception. Despite their inherent fragility, they could comprehend and derive many incredibly powerful cultivation techniques with their unimaginable perception and creativity, thus strengthening themselves. They dominated the Demon Clan and the Sea Clan, occupying the lands of Central State and other states where spiritual charm was most abundant. Being an artifact spirit, Yen didn't possess this spiritual nature. This was also one of the reasons why it dreamed of one day breaking free from its cage to become a real living being. All right, Little Li, let's go. After chatting briefly with Yen, Lu Qing, now fully disguised, carried Little Li and began heading deeper into West State. Chapter 568. West State Spirit Mountain, Sneaking in Sudden Murder. This West State has indeed undergone many changes. Suspended Mountain has great ambitions, Lu Qing sighed. At this moment, he was outside a small city in West State, in front of a not-so-tall mountain peak. Halfway up the mountain, there was a flurry of construction for the building of a Buddhist temple and the carving of Buddha statues. At the foot of the mountain, civilians were prostrating themselves step by step, their faces full of piety as they made their pilgrimage up the mountain. Such scenes Lu Qing had seen quite a few on his way here. Although he had never been to West State before, he had some understanding of it. He knew that although there was a tradition of believing in Buddhism here, it should not be as fervent as what he was seeing now. If this continues, it won't be long before Suspended Mountain truly takes control of West State. Lu Qing was well aware of the power of faith. With the methods of Suspended Mountain, if given a bit more time, it would probably not be long before the whole of West State fell into their complete control, as impregnable as a fortified stronghold. When that time came and they were free to act, they would probably think of ways to deal with him. These bald donkeys, after tens of thousands of years, still follow the same old paths. Yan, looking at this scene, also said, in the ancient immortal cultivation era, this West State was the stronghold of many Buddhist sects. I didn't expect that this time, it would be Suspended Mountain dominating alone. That might not necessarily be the case, Lu Qing said lightly. Whether Suspended Mountain wants to retake control of West State depends on whether it has that capability. After speaking, he left with little Li and continued forward. Those who built the temples and carved the statues were just ordinary craftsmen. Naturally, Lu Qing had no intention of troubling them. His target was not here. After leaving the small city, Lu Qing deployed his spirit talisman and, like a gust of wind, flitted through the mountains and forests. This time, he did not head elsewhere but made a beeline for the west side of West State. Now that he knew of Suspended Mountain schemes in West State, he needn't bother with other pointless actions and could strike directly at the heart. Under the enhancement of the spirit talisman, Lu Qing's speed had exceeded the scope of the innate realm. Half a day later, he reached the western side of West State. Lu Qing looked ahead and saw a continuous range of mountains coming into view. The most conspicuous was a majestic high mountain that soared into the clouds, seated upon the vast land. Clouds and fog could only linger halfway up the mountain, obscuring the scenery above. Lingshan Mountain Range, I should have thought of this. This is where the secret entrance to Suspended Mountain lies. Lu Qing looked at the magnificent scene before him, silently pondering. This Lingshan Mountain Range, though not as vast and majestic as the Central State Sacred Mountain, sacred and inviolable, was also the vast mountain range he had seen second only to the Sacred Mountain. Compared to the 10,000 great mountains after Jili Village, it was much inferior. I had visited this Lingshan Mountain Range once before. Yan's figure also appeared next to Lu Qing, looking at that mountain range shrouded in clouds and fog, showing an indescribable look in his eyes. In the ancient immortal cultivation era, this place was the ancestral courtyard of the Buddhist faith. Back then, the Lingshan Mountain Range was much more majestic and commanding. All cultivators passing through here had to refrain from flying and pass by land. Otherwise, it would be seen as a provocation to the Buddhist sect. So these bald donkeys have been so overbearing since ancient times? Lu Qing chuckled lightly. No wonder the next generation is twisted when the old is crooked. If the root is like that, how can it possibly straighten out? Little Li, let's go. Lu Qing's divine soul talisman within his third eye began to pulsate. Then, the aura emanating from his body swiftly converged and became almost undetectable. At the same time, his figure gradually vanished, eventually disappearing completely. As for little Li, it was even simpler. It simply leapt lightly and had already slipped into a spatial gap, hiding even more thoroughly than Lu Qing.
Divine sous le conseilling technique, invisibility talisman.
Watching Lu Qing use these two techniques to completely conceal his form, Yan felt amazed. Lu Qing knew too much. The heritage from the Divine Talisman sect combined with that of Li Hua sect made his understanding of the rune path as profound as his accomplishments in body refinement. Furthermore, Lu Qing was far more cautious than it had imagined. After using transformation techniques to alter his divine soul aura and appearance and don a mask among other disguises. Now he even used concealing technique and the invisibility talisman to completely hide his form. Incredibly cautious to the extreme. Somehow, Yen even began to feel a bit sorry for Suspended Mountain. To have provoked such a powerful and extremely cautious enemy was critical. And the most important part was that this enemy's talent in cultivation was outrageously incredible. Plus, there was the Black Knight Spirit Fox that was equally elusive, possessing spatial talents. Just considering it from another perspective, Yen felt a chill in its heart. It could even foresee the impending woe of Suspended Mountain. Once well hidden, Lu Qing began to lead Little Li and infiltrate towards Lingshan Mountain range ahead. Before long, he arrived in front of that most towering and majestic mountain. The journey up was exceptionally smooth. After all, Suspended Mountain had only emerged not long ago and had been busy subjugating the many sects in West State to make them their own. They had yet to begin true construction on the Lingshan Mountain range, and even the sect protection array had not been set up, naturally unable to detect Lu Qing's trail. Approaching that towering mountain, a cacophony of human voices traveled from the mountain to Lu Qing's ears. The mountain was also a hub of construction, with temples being built and Buddha statues being carved. It was even more significant than what Lu Qing had seen elsewhere in West State. For instance, he saw from afar on a cliff nearly 100 zhang high, many craftsmen with the cultivation of martial artists were chiseling a brand new colossal Buddha statue. Chapter 569. The Buddha statue's head alone stood over 30 feet tall, truly majestic and unparalleled. Gazing upon the giant Buddha statue, which was already more than half complete, Lu Qing felt a stir in his heart and, together with Little Li, quietly approached. Before long, they reached the base of the 100-zhang cliff and also saw several bald monks in red kasayas, chubby and earlobed, standing before the sheer rock face. Feeling the aura emanating from these monks, Lu Qing's heart tensed. The chi blood of these bald monks was extraordinarily robust, with the weakest among them in the early stages of the innate realm. One of the red-robed monks, who seemed to be the leader, had a harmonious aura blending seamlessly with his environment. He was indeed a master of innate perfection. This was the first time Lu Qing had encountered an expert of innate perfection. The third saint he met in Central State Holy City didn't count. That saint had used a puppet Dharma body, which, although powerful, was still quite different from a true master of innate perfection. Moreover, Lu Qing also faintly sensed another special aura on the body of the leading red-robed monk, indicating that apart from his martial arts cultivation at innate perfection, he also practiced other cultivation techniques. Lu Qing immediately activated his superpower, observing him closely. After several breaths, a rich golden superpower light emerged from the leading red-robed monk. Simultaneously, several lines of text floated into view. Xian Ming, Great Elder of Suspended Mountain. Cultivation. Dual cultivation of body and movement technique. Perfect innate realm. Possesses Buddhist exotic treasure. Formidable in both offense and defense. Lu Qing then turned his gaze to the other several bald monks. Unsurprisingly, all of them being elders from Suspended Mountain. This was not unexpected to him. According to Yen, although the powers of the four great secret places had hidden within secret realms and continued their legacy for tens of thousands of years, in the end, they were merely clinging to survival. Even if it was a secret realm, it could not completely block the permeation of the main world's rules. Consequently, it was impossible for the secret realm to spawn excessively powerful beings. At most, they could achieve perfect foundation establishment. It was impossible for them to reach the Golden Core realm, because to condense a Golden Core after the foundation establishment stage, one had to endure the cleansing of a heavenly tribulation. Surviving the 49 heavenly tribulations was required. This was an undeniable law of cultivation. No cultivator could defy it. And since the secret realms were incapable of gathering heavenly tribulation, the emergence of a Golden Core realm existence was impossible. It was also because of this understanding of cultivation secrets that Lu Qing dared to come to West State alone. seeking trouble with Suspended Mountain. Armed with a spiritual artifact, he had the confidence that even if he could not defeat a cultivator of the Foundation establishment stage, he could still retreat unscathed. Great Elder, Zenhart has sent news that the Iron Sword sect in the south is also willing to submit and acknowledge our Suspended Mountain as their leader. A bald monk said just as Lu Qing had finished probing with his superpower. Good, with the submission of the Iron Sword sect, West State can be considered to have completely returned to the control of our Suspended Mountain. Shenming nodded in satisfaction. Humph. If not for the times when spiritual energy was depleted, making the cost of opening a secret realm too great and our ingress and egress inconvenient, how could West State become so mired in filth by these wretched things? Now, having them convert to our Buddhist ways is their good fortune. Another red-robed monk snorted coldly. Elder brother, don't be vexed. Precisely because the people of this world are obstinate, they need our Buddha's guidance. For us, this too is a form of cultivation. Shenming consoled. Elder brother Shenming, now that West State has returned under the banner of our Buddhist sect, how shall we proceed with the other matter mentioned by the abbot? Do you mean the evil demon who killed elder brother Shenming and the others? Lu Qing's heart stirred when he heard them mention himself. Exactly, elder brother Shenming. Do you think the information that Wujin Building gathered a few days ago is credible? A red-robed monk asked. Wujin Building wouldn't dare to deceive us. They depend on our Suspended Mountain's benevolence to continue their lineage. Even if they had 100 times the courage, they wouldn't dare harbor ulterior motives. Moreover, when the Wujin Building master came to report that day, my Hui Xen didn't detect any dishonesty. Shenming mused for a moment before replying. Does that mean what Wujin Building discovered about the hidden cultivation place of that evil demon is true? It should be close. I never imagined that the evil demon would originate from a remote and insignificant place like Tsang State. Such a backwater, indeed, is a breeding ground for demons. Shenming, the Supreme Elder, and the others have ordered us to capture that demon and convert him to our cause. When do we set out? There's no rush with this matter. That demon is a person endowed with great fate, having even survived the heavenly tribulation. His strength could very well be on par with ours. To capture him alive, we must make a long-term plan and consider all our options carefully. We'll wait until the construction of the Spirit Mountain is complete and the mountain protection array is established. Then we will slowly proceed. Shenming spoke slowly. Lu Qing, who was hiding nearby, immediately realized what was happening upon hearing this. The assassin from the Wujin Building who had escaped under his master's flying sword at Wei Mansion had safely returned to the Suspended Mountain's secret realm. He had reported all the information he had gathered back to Suspended Mountain. Lu Qing felt somewhat fortunate that he had come here in advance. Otherwise, once Suspended Mountain really stabilized the situation in West State and set up the protective arrays, sneaking in would become nearly impossible. By then, he would have no choice but to withstand their assaults. After all, he could leave at any time, but the villagers of Jili Village and the Wei family would suffer. Thinking of this, a surge of killing intent suddenly rose within Lu Qing. From the conversation of the people just now, he could tell. There were indeed powerful experts hidden in the secret realm of Suspended Mountain. Those referred to as the Tower Master and the Supreme Elder must be powerful cultivators above the Foundation establishment stage. However, at this moment in the Lingshan Mountain range, the most powerful should be the several red-clothed monks in front of him. Especially Shenming, who was addressed as the Great Elder, must be the leader of Suspended Mountain's emergence into the world this time. If he could kill him, it would surely throw Suspended Mountain into chaos for a while. With killing intent pervading his heart, Lu Qing's gaze became even colder. He first transmitted a few commands to Little Li through his divine soul. Then, he quietly took out his war saber from the Chenquan Qi bag. His figure moved soundlessly, closing in on the red-clothed monks. Just as Lu Qing was about 10 yards away from them, he saw Xuanming's face suddenly change, looking in his direction with shock and suspicion. With a thought, Lu Qing understood that his presence had been revealed. His mind raced, and without a second thought, he unleashed a fierce and peerless momentum, bringing a bright flash of sword light to life from his body, sweeping towards the men in front of him. Who's there? The red-clothed monks were innate-level experts. They sensed Lu Qing's bursting momentum almost immediately. All of them were greatly shocked. Never had they anticipated that someone could approach so close to them undetected. But what shocked them even more was the sword light that Lu Qing had unleashed. It was extremely concentrated and of unparalleled force. Just feeling it for a moment caused all the monks' hair to stand on end, their scalps to tingle, as a bone-chilling coldness rose from the bottom of their hearts. Dodge quickly. In the blink of an eye, every monk reacted in their own way. Some tried to use their movement techniques to evade the sword light. Some had light emerge around their bodies, intending to use their hard-earned protective Gangqi to block the sword light. Others produced short staves they carried with them, confronting the sword light head-on. But it was Xian Ming, the most highly cultivated among them, who, sensing the sword light for a split second, had his face dramatically change and bellowed for everyone to get out of the way. However, it was too late. The sword light that Lu Qing had been preparing erupted with incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, it had reached the monks in front of him. Then, it swept across their bodies and flew towards the cliff behind them. Finally, it slashed a deep, bottomless cut into the cliffside before coming to a stop. Boom! Alongside the thundering noise of the sword qi cutting into the cliff, several jets of fresh blood were also sent flying. Chapter 570. Bisect, Golden Light Buddha Shadow. Junior brother. An exceedingly fierce and unrivaled sword qi slashed onto the cliff, creating a huge gash. But what infuriated and shocked Xian Yi even more was that in front of him, several of his junior brothers had been hit by the sword qi. In just an instant, blood splattered, and all were cut in half at the waist. Neither the protective Gangqi, nor the magic short staff, nor the golden body that his junior brothers prided themselves on refining through countless trials, could block the fierce and unmatched sword qi. They were sliced in two with a single stroke. Who are you? Seeing his junior brothers writhing on the ground, Xian Yi, filled with shock and anger, fiercely lifted his head to look at Lu Qing. However, Lu Qing's face was masked at the time, and his aura was extremely unfamiliar, making it impossible for Xian Yi to determine the newcomer's origins. Perfecting the innate realm with both body cultivation and magical power does have some tricks. Lu Qing stood arrogantly with his saber, his voice hoarse with a hint of surprise. The strike he had just delivered was not held back at all. It could be considered the strongest attack he could muster in his normal state. Yet it had failed to affect Xian Yi. He could see clearly that a layer of golden light had emerged on Xian Yi just as the sword qi approached, easily blocking part of his attack. He knew it must be the exotic treasure protecting its master automatically. Otherwise, just the perfect innate realm cultivation alone wouldn't have been enough to block his attack drive by the magical treasure-level battle saber so easily. Upon hearing this, Xian Yi's pupils suddenly contracted, his heart even more shocked. The fact that he practiced both body cultivation and magical power was a very secret matter. Not even many of the disciples inside the sect, let alone most of the elders, were aware of it. With the treasure inside his body able to conceal his aura and predict the heavenly secrets, in theory, no one should have been able to see through his details. Yet, this mysterious ghost-faced man who had suddenly appeared seemed to understand his foundation clearly. This added to Xian Yi's shock, and he became even more eager to know who the other party was. Ah! Elder brother Xian Yi, kill this thief. Great elder, avenge us. The few monks who had been cut in half at the waist did not die immediately. The strong life energy of the innate realm allowed them, unless their divine souls were instantly annihilated, to live for a considerable time even with severe injuries. Instead, it was the unbearable pain that made them lose their reason, and they screamed frantically. As for the craftsmen who were originally carving Buddha statues on the cliff, they had completely come to a halt. They clung tightly to the cliff, not daring to let out a breath, and even too scared to run. They too were martial artists, and upon feeling Lu Qing's saber strike, they knew this level of innate level battle was simply not something they could participate in, and even watching it was fraught with great risks. Silence! Lu Qing, hearing the shouts of the red-robed monks, showed a trace of coldness on his face and casually sent out several waves of sword chi slashing toward the ground. "How dare you, thief!" Seeing this, Xian Yi could no longer obsess over Lu Qing's origin, and immediately a burst of golden light emerged from his body, rapidly expanding to protect the severed bodies of the few elders within. The sword chi struck the golden light and was dissipated just as quickly as before. However, Lu Qing was waiting for this moment. As soon as Xian Yi revealed the golden light, Lu Qing also moved. He stepped down, and the huge rock behind him shattered. In the same instant, Lu Qing's figure appeared right in front of Xian Yi. The battle saber in his hand descended like a thunderbolt from heaven, slashing down swiftly and fiercely. This time, Lu Qing was using not just sword chi, but a genuine magical treasure-level battle saber. The magical treasure-level battle saber, forged entirely from outer heaven-fallen iron, possessed an edge beyond imagination. So much so that even defensive magic artifacts struggled to withstand it. Thus, the golden light shield was slashed open by Lu Qing in but a moment, and the saber's edge aimed straight for Xian Yi's face. Humph! As the golden light shield broke apart, Xian Yi did not panic. Instead, cold intent shone in his eyes. Just as Lu Qing's war saber was about to strike him, an arm hidden within a voluminous sleeve suddenly appeared, its wide palm shining with golden light, fiercely moving forward. With this palm strike, an overwhelming aura erupted from Xian Yi. Indistinctly, a giant golden Buddha figure also emerged behind him, extending its arm toward Lu Qing. Seeing such a phenomenon, Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. However, he naturally did not retreat. His war saber relentlessly advanced, striking directly upon Xian Yi's palm. Boom! As saber and palm collided, the powerful force of their impact unleashed violent currents of air. The display of power from the two perfect innate realm individuals made the spectators gasp for air, their heart and spirits constricted. Artisans on the cliff top felt their limbs turn icy and their bodies tremble. If not for a strong instinct to survive gripping onto the protruding rocks of the cliff, they would have fallen off like dumplings. He's got some tricks. In the midst of these violent air currents, Lu Qing drew back his saber a few steps. He looked at Xian Yi's completely unharmed palm, his face showing surprise. His strike had not managed to sever Xian Yi's palm. A magical treasure that's both offensive and defensive? Lu Qing looked at the massive 7 to 8 zhang tall golden Buddha phantom behind Xian Yi, along with his dazzling gold-like arm. He understood then that it was again the work of that exotic treasure. Able to withstand the edge of his war saber, what Xian Yi controlled was at the very least a magical treasure-level exotic treasure. What? Lu Qing was surprised, unaware that Xian Yi's heart was even more shocked. He had not expected that even after he had used his magical treasure, he still couldn't handle this mysterious ghost-faced man. The realm the opponent had revealed was clearly still at the innate level, yet he had so effortlessly caught his strike fueled by a magical treasure. Such strength had entirely surpassed the boundary of the innate realm. Moreover, the war saber in the opponent's hand was also a magical treasure. Who exactly are you and why do you attack the suspended mountain? Could there be some misunderstanding here? Realizing Lu Qing's formidable strength, Xian Yi's expression became exceedingly grave as he slowly spoke. At the same time, his heart and spirit secretly activated something, sending a strange fluctuation flying toward a certain location in the mountain. Thinking of calling for reinforcements? Lu Qing's divine soul power was extremely keen. Instantly, he detected that odd fluctuation. His eyes narrowed. Old monk, I originally wanted to play with you a little longer, but since this is the case, prepare to die. As he spoke, a dense white halo of light emanated from Lu Qing. At the same time, his aura surged explosively, becoming several times stronger than before. Body shining with treasure light. You are a body cultivator. How is this possible? Xian Yi, seeing the white halo of light emanating from Lu Qing, suddenly widened his eyes in shock, exclaiming aloud. However, Before his words even fell, he saw that Lu Qing's figure had already vanished from sight. A sense of immense danger surged from within Xian Yi. Chapter 571. One slash to kill 3 Buddhas. Foundation establishment stage. Just when Xian Yi felt an unparalleled sense of danger, Lu Qing's figure had already reappeared in front of him. Xian Yi's pupils shrank in an instant. This time, with his aura multiplied several times, Lu Qing's speed also soared. Even with his perfect innate realm, he couldn't capture Lu Qing's movement technique. Old monk, embrace death. Lu Qing's gaze was icy. The war saber in his hand disappeared in an instant. It was the illusion created by the extreme speed of his saber swing. No! The extreme speed naturally brought extreme power. When Lu Qing's saber reappeared in his hand, seen by all, Xian Yi's eyes suddenly widened, filled with terror. The next moment, his body, radiating with golden light, along with the huge golden Buddha light behind him, started to crack from the forehead, spreading throughout his entire body. His body split in two and slowly parted on each side. His divine soul consciousness also gradually descended into darkness. At the same time, a booming sound emanated from behind him. It was from the cliff's surface, where the giant stone Buddha had been half-carved and now also split into two. 100-meter-long huge sword chi mark appeared on it. It was Lu Qing's saber chi that filled the air, striking the cliff and the stone Buddha above it, cleaving them in two as well. One saber stroke, 3 Buddhas cut down. Xian Yi, the golden Buddha light, the stone Buddha on the cliff. Lu Qing's saber strike was immensely powerful, cutting down 3 Buddhas. Its terrifying might left everyone stunned, their hearts and minds shocked, overwhelmed by the sight. Even those red-robed monks, who were half-severed at the waist, forgetting the intense pain in their bodies for a moment, were just staring blankly at the huge sword chi mark on the cliff, unbelieving that such a scene could possibly exist. It was only when a golden light orb slowly emerged from Xian Yi's corpse did the red-robed monks regain their senses. They cried out in grief and anger.
Eldar Huang Yi.
Great Elder! Another monk yelled. Quick! We cannot let him seize the Vajra robe. But it was already too late. The moment the golden orb appeared, Lu Qing, sensing the aura emitted, knew it was the magical treasure inside Xian Yi's body. Without waiting to use his superpower to scan for information, he immediately stepped forward and took it into his hand. Just as Lu Qing's hand touched the golden light orb, a grand voice emanated from within the golden light. Who dares to covet the treasures of Suspended Mountain? It turned out that there was still a strong divine soul power hidden inside it. Moreover, this divine soul power transformed into a divine soul assault, targeting Lu Qing's forehead point, seeking to obliterate his heart and spirit will. Humph! The sudden divine soul attack did not surprise Lu Qing. Just as the divine soul assault was about to penetrate his forehead point, a flash of light suddenly appeared on his body. A vestment robe phantom emerged from within him, instantly blocking the divine soul power. Although the divine soul power hidden in the golden orb was strong, it couldn't cause him any trouble whatsoever and was completely obliterated. However, just as the merit heavenly robe obliterated that divine soul power, a sense of warning suddenly arose in Lu Qing's heart. He abruptly looked up, gazing in the direction of the depths of Lingshan mountain range, because he felt a terrifying aura emerging deep within the mountain range, rushing towards him at a great speed. Foundation establishment stage. And not just an ordinary one. In an instant, Lu Qing realized that the person approaching was not an ordinary cultivator, but a foundation establishment expert. He pondered for a moment and suddenly tossed the golden light orb in his hand into the Chenkuan Chi bag. He casually transmitted his divine soul's voice. Little Li, let's go. As he spoke, his figure was already fleeing outward. However, before leaving, Lu Qing swung several sword chi, slashing at the several red-robed monks on the ground who, although severed at the waist, were still alive. Ah!
No!
Lu Qing's saber technique was extremely exquisite, and the severely injured red-robed monks had no possibility of evading. They were immediately beheaded by Lu Qing's sword Qi, dying instantly. After dealing with several red-robed monks, Lu Qing's figure had already entered the forest, disappearing into the dense woods. Meanwhile, the terrifying aura from deep within the mountains seemed to sense something and immediately increased its speed, rushing towards this side. The craftsmen on the cliff, seeing Lu Qing leave, were about to breathe a sigh of relief. But the next moment, they became stiff again. A terrifying aura suddenly descended from the sky, landing at the base of the cliff. It was an elderly monk clad in a simple gray robe, his face full of wrinkles like dead wood, and his very long eyebrows, resembling braids, hung over his shoulders. The gray-robed monk arrived at the base of the cliff, saw the corpses of Master Xian and others, and a hint of sadness appeared in his eyes. But quickly, the sadness turned into coldness. He looked up at the craftsman above the cliff, a killing intent emerging from him. Where did the evil demon that killed Master Xian and the others escape to? The craftsman, stared at by the gray-robed monk, felt their limbs go cold and stiff, their hearts and spirits trembling uncontrollably. But he dared not avoid answering the question, tremblingly stretching out his arm, pointing in the direction of the forest. Responding, Master, that person fled that way. The moment the words fell, the gray-robed monk's figure had already disappeared from the spot, chasing into the forest. Ah Qing, why are we running away? Little Li can defeat that person. On the other side of the forest, Lu Qing was using his movement technique, swiftly withdrawing under the enhancement of the spirit talisman. Little Li, nestled in Lu Qing's embrace, felt somewhat puzzled. Although the aura that had burst from the depths of the mountain range was fierce, he felt that he and Ah Qing were not necessarily unable to contend with him. We're not running away, we're making a strategic retreat. Lu Qing smiled and explained to Little Li. Just now, the location was too close to the entrance of the suspended mountain's secret realm. It's hard to ensure that during our fight with the opponent, others won't come out to support him. Another point was that Master Xian, being of the perfect innate realm, even had a magical treasure-level exotic treasure for protection. The aura that had just emerged from the secret realm must also be wielding powerful treasures. The power that a magical treasure could exhibit in the Qi refining realm and foundation establishment realm was incomparable. Although Lu Qing possessed a spiritual artifact, he did not want to fight a foundation establishment expert too close to the suspended mountain secret realm. In case he was unable to slay him at once and got entangled, and a few more foundation establishment experts suddenly appeared from the other side, even with his spiritual artifact, he might still end up in trouble. Thus, for safety's sake, it was better to retreat for the time being. At least, he needed to pull back to a sufficiently safe distance. Only then could he seriously confront a foundation establishment expert. Feeling the rapidly approaching aura not far behind him, a smile appeared on Lu Qing's face. Chapter 572. Battle Foundation Establishment, the Power of Domain. Feeling the powerful aura rushing towards him from behind, a faint smile appeared on Lu Qing's face. He carried 2 spiritual artifacts on him, and hiding his presence was naturally a simple task. Even a cultivator at the foundation establishment wouldn't be able to spot him. However, his purpose for retreating wasn't to run away. So, instead of concealing himself, he intentionally showed a trace of his presence, letting the foundation establishment cultivator behind him sense it. As expected, after sensing Lu Qing's aura, the speed of his pursuer increased sharply once again, closing in swiftly. Feeling this, Lu Qing remained calm and unhurried. A glint of purification light flashed on him, and his speed increased sharply, moving quickly forward. He was still too close to Lingshan mountain range. He needed to get further away to be safe. The gray-robed old monk sensed Lu Qing's increase in speed, seemingly realizing he was being pursued, and a flicker of coldness appeared in his eyes. Think you can escape? Golden light emerged from his body and surged into a golden small boat he stood upon. In the next instant, his speed doubled again, bearing down quickly on Lu Qing. Dozens of breaths later, upon a vast plain, he finally saw Lu Qing's figure. Looking at Lu Qing's flustered fleeing figure 100 yards away, the gray-robed old monk, without hesitation, pointed his finger and a streak of golden light shot straight towards Lu Qing's heart. In an instant, the golden light reached behind Lu Qing, and just as it was about to pierce him, at the crucial moment, Lu Qing rolled over, narrowly avoiding the strike with extraordinary difficulty. However, the expression of the gray-robed old monk showed no change. He remained stern, only changing the spell with his fingers. Suddenly, the streak of golden light, which had already been avoided by Lu Qing, shifted direction mid-air with a breath's ease, and at an even faster pace headed right towards Lu Qing's chest. This change was extremely fast and Lu Qing had no means to escape. His war saber transformed into a bolt of thunder, striking at the golden light. Boom! A sound of air wave explosion rang out, causing Lu Qing's body to sink and the surrounding weeds, mud, and stones to scatter in an instant. The golden light was then repelled by Lu Qing's saber strike, revealing its true form as a golden flying shuttle. The gray-robed old monk, seeing how easily Lu Qing had repelled the magic artifact he had released, finally showed a hint of surprise on his face. Yet, he remained silent. With another change in his spell, the golden flying shuttle transformed back into a golden light and headed towards Lu Qing. As the gray-robed old monk spurred his heart and spirit, the spiritual energy of the surrounding 100 meters began to fluctuate and continuously gathered above the golden shuttle. Forming a mighty presence, it bore down on Lu Qing. This time, the gray-robed old monk was not merely testing. He was exhibiting the true power of the Foundation establishment stage. Divine melt heaven and earth. Feeling the might above the golden shuttle, several times greater than before, Lu Qing's face showed a serious expression. He was very familiar with the technique used by the gray-robed old monk. It was indeed the divine melt heaven and earth, previously performed by the third saint's puppet Dharma body. Divine melt heaven and earth, simply put, was about using the divine soul power to penetrate the surrounding heaven and earth, controlling the energy between them, utilizing it for oneself and forming a dominant force. To master this technique, one needed extremely strong divine soul power and a profound understanding of the heaven and earth rules. Lu Qing also knew this move. After having grasped the domain from his teacher, he naturally mastered the technique of divine melt heaven and earth. Not long ago, in Songzhou Prefecture City, he had disrupted a demon cultivator's array nodes using a bow and arrow, employing the divine melt heaven and earth technique. Gathering the surrounding nature's spiritual energy into the magic arrow. The strength of the magic arrow was so potent that even the blood-melting soul-refining array's array formation light screen could not withstand it. Thus, facing the golden shuttle bearing the might of heaven and earth, Lu Qing also had a strong aura rising from him. An invisible domain, centering on his body, unfolded rapidly, taking control of the space within 3 yards around him. At the same time, a yellow light flickered, and the earth spirit pearl in the glabella vibrated slightly. Then Lu Qing reached out and made a grasping motion in front of him. In the next moment, a bizarre scene occurred. The magic artifact golden shuttle, bearing the might of heaven and earth, had just entered the 3-yard range in front of Lu Qing when its speed visibly slowed down. When it reached a 2-yard distance, it became even slower. Finally, it was just fixed in the position 1 yard away from Lu Qing, unable to move and with its might entirely dissipated, revealing the true form of the golden shuttle. What? The gray-robed old monk was truly shaken now. Shock appeared in his eyes as he stared intently at Lu Qing. He seemed unable to believe that his accumulated strike was so easily neutralized by Lu Qing. Old monk, stop hiding your power. These little tricks of yours won't trouble me. I advise you to use your full strength. Otherwise you'll regret it when you die. Having easily blocked the strike with the domain enhanced by the earth vein primordial magnetism, Lu Qing spoke indifferently. He looked at the gray-robed old monk in midair, and information about his opponent started to emerge in his vision. Ku Rong Elder, one of the supreme elders of Suspended Mountain. Cultivation, Foundation establishment stage of great success, perfection. For fear of the outside heaven and earth rules sensing his presence and casting down tribulation, he severed his own cultivation from perfect foundation establishment to the great foundation establishment. One who advanced within the secret realm, fundamentally innate with flaws, needs to supplement his foundation for a successful crossing of the tribulation. Possesses exotic treasure, formidable in strength. As Lu Qing finished reading the information floating around the gray-robed old monk, he understood clearly. It seemed that this elder was indeed one of the cornerstones of Suspended Mountain. A cultivator at the perfection of foundation establishment was considered among the most top-tier existences in the world today. However, it appeared that he was immensely cautious about the insufficiently evolved rules of the outside world. He had to sever his own cultivation before daring to emerge from the secret realm. Arrogant! The shock in the gray-robed old monk's eyes receded. He had also discerned what technique Lu Qing had employed. Do you think that just by wielding a small domain, you can act recklessly? Evil demon, you're cruel and ruthless, daring to slaughter the disciples of my Suspended Mountain. Today, I shall act on heaven's behalf and deliver your soul. With those words, it was as if a seal had been broken, unleashing an overwhelmingly powerful aura from within the gray-robed old monk. Following that, he pointed his spell and the golden shuttle, which Lu Qing had immobilized, suddenly started to violently spin and shake as if endowed with immense power. It seemed that Lu Qing's domain was on the verge of being breached. Humph! But with a light snort from Lu Qing, a yellow light reappeared on his body. Within his domain, the space became tenfold heavier. With this power, the golden shuttle was once again suppressed, immobile like a small insect in amber. Earth vein primordial magnetism. Seeing the yellow light emerging from Lu Qing, the gray-robed old monk's expression finally turned grave. Earth vein primordial magnetism was not an ordinary power. This was a higher manifestation of the earth element power, which could only be mastered by those with profound insight into the element of earth. Moreover, for his magic artifact to be suppressed by the earth vein primordial magnetism, the divine soul power of his opponent had to be at least equal to his. Could it be that this mysterious person, who clearly exuded the aura of the Qi refining realm, was actually a cultivator of the same level in disguise? The old monk is somewhat insightful. While the gray-robed old monk was filled with doubt and uncertainty, Lu Qing chuckled lightly. But you must be tired of standing up there. Come down to me. With that, he reached forward with an empty hand, gripping hard and pressing downward. Following Lu Qing's movement, the gray-robed old monk suddenly felt a powerful force acting upon him. His body suddenly became tenfold heavier. He started to wobble, and the golden small boat under his feet seemed unable to support him anymore. Chapter 573, 14 Consecutive Arrow Formation. Calculations and counter-calculations. Trying to drag me down? The gray-robed monk felt the heaviness on his body and the strong pulling force and immediately understood Lu Qing's intent. Yet how could he comply with Lu Qing's wishes? A golden light emerged within his body as he struggled to break free from the earth vein primordial magnetism binding him. The golden small boat under his feet also radiated light, generating great strength. Like a flying fish breaking free from a net, carrying the gray-robed monk, it swiftly retreated. Unfortunately, seeing the gray-robed monk break free from the magnetic force and retreat, Lu Qing sighed silently in his heart. The ability of the Earth Spirit Pearl to control the Earth Vein primordial magnetism had its limits in range. With his current realm, the range he could fully control the Earth Vein primordial magnetism was roughly around 100 meters. The gray-robed monk was still a bit too far from him. Furthermore, considering the other party was a foundation establishment expert, it indeed wasn't realistic to think of pulling him down from the air with just the Earth Vein primordial magnetism. However, the retreat of the gray-robed monk, preoccupied with else, also gave Lu Qing another opportunity. He extended his arm and instantly grabbed the suppressed golden shuttle magical artifact, throwing it into the Chenkuan Qi bag. Due to the distance, the gray-robed monk's control over the golden shuttle weakened significantly, and failing to notice in time, He allowed Lu Qing to successfully capture it into the Chenkuan Qi bag. How is this possible? Discovering that he could no longer sense the golden shuttle, the gray-robed monk's face finally changed. The golden shuttle had long been refined by him to connect with his heart and spirit like an extension of his body. Logically, even if it was temporarily taken by Lu Qing, it shouldn't have been possible to erase his divine soul imprint so quickly. But now, he couldn't sense the location of the golden shuttle at all. Thus, there was only one explanation. The gaze of the gray-robed monk fell upon the Chenkuan Qi bag hanging at Lu Qing's waist. Evil demon, I didn't expect you possessed a spatial magical treasure. Looking at the inconspicuous cloth bag at Lu Qing's waist, the gray-robed monk was somewhat incredulous. Space magical treasures were extremely precious. Even in their suspended mountain, there was only one held by the abbot. It was unforeseen that this mysterious man with a masked face also had one. Although the gray-robed monk found it hard to believe, with the golden shuttle magical artifact now out of his sensing reach, he knew this was probably the closest explanation to the truth. Only a spatial magical treasure could block his sensing of the magical treasure he had refined with his heart and spirit. For a moment, the gray-robed monk began to doubt Lu Qing's identity. Such a powerful figure, possessing an incredibly precious spatial magical treasure. In his view, only a very few places could possibly have such powerful individuals. Evil demon? Who exactly are you? Hiding your head but revealing your tail, not daring to show your true face. Could it be that you are from one of the other great secret lands? After speaking, he stared dead at Lu Qing, trying to discern any clues from his actions. Who I am doesn't matter. Seeing the other party seem to have misunderstood, Lu Qing did not explain. The reason he employed so much disguise was to hide his true identity. Whether he could deceive him or not didn't particularly matter, but if he could, that would be a victory. Old monk, all you need to know is that this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Lu Qing spoke with a hoarse voice, uttering a sinister statement. Suddenly, a bow and arrows appeared in his hand. With lightning speed, he drew the bow and knocked the arrows. In the blink of an eye, he unleashed a barrage of 14 magic arrows, which followed a mysterious trajectory to form an arrow technique, soaring toward the gray-robed monk in the sky. Arrow technique, 14 chain arrows. Since his cultivation breakthrough and improvement in his realm, Lu Qing's arrow technique had also made significant progress. The previously mastered 7 stars in a row had been directly upgraded to 14. 14 magic arrows were instantly shot. Each arrow individually was not particularly powerful. But when arranged into an array, they connected interdependently and formed a force that was far superior to any of Lu Qing's previously accumulated magic arrow attacks. Moreover, these 14 magic arrows continued to absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth during flight, growing increasingly powerful. Looking at the arrow array coming head-on, the gray-robed old monk's face became solemn. The opponent's techniques were endless. First it was the saber technique, then the domain, and even the earth vein primordial magnetism, and now he even used an arrow array that very few people cultivated. The most critical point was all these techniques were powerful, reaching the level of the foundation establishment stage. When did such a monster appear in the world? Could it be the opponent was not from one of the other secret lands? For a moment, the gray-robed old monk started to doubt his previous judgment. Numerous thoughts flashed through the gray-robed old monk's mind. However, now was not the time to think about these. Feeling the speed of the arrow array, the gray-robed old monk knew it was too late to retreat using the golden small boat, and he would be caught up in an instant. Unfortunately, his flying artifact did not have a strong defensive array. He had no choice but to focus entirely. A golden light emitted from his body. As he fully operated the small boat, he stood on to dodge the arrow array that had reached in front of him. Lu Qing's endless techniques had already made the gray-robed old monk extremely wary. Not knowing if there was anything out of the ordinary about the magic arrows, he did not want to make contact with them. For a moment, a strange scene appeared in the sky. Numerous rays of light chasing a golden figure, streaking long marks across the sky. The gray-robed old monk was indeed a foundation establishment expert. Although Lu Qing's arrow array was powerful and the trajectory of the magic arrows was mysterious, sealing off the 8 directions, he could still dodge them just in time. Under his heart and spirit envelopment, while it seemed perilous, in reality, he had everything under control. Having dodged another magic arrow, he calculated that this was the 13th magic arrow he had dodged. As long as he avoided the last one, Lu Qing's arrow array would be broken. The heart of the gray-robed old monk slightly relaxed, just as he prepared to deal with the last magic arrow. Suddenly, a strong sense of danger surged in his heart. The direction of the danger came from below. He looked down, and his expression drastically changed. He saw Lu Qing standing right below him, looking at him indifferently. The critical point was, the distance between them was not more than 100 meters. It turned out that in the process of dodging the arrow array, the gray-robed old monk had unwittingly descended to a position less than 100 meters from the ground. Not good. Panic appeared on the face of the gray-robed old monk as he tried to steer the small boat upward to fly. But it was already too late. Lu Qing revealed a faint smile on his face and extended his hand, making a grasping motion. "I've finally caught you. Come down." With that motion of Lu Qing's hand, the gray-robed old monk instantly felt a powerful force binding him. His body also, in an instant, became exceedingly heavy. And this time, the force binding him was several times stronger than before. Even as the gray-robed old monk struggled mightily, activating layers of golden light from the small boat he was on, he could not resist the dragging force. He was pulled down from the high altitude rapidly. Very soon, he was just about 10 meters above Lu Qing's head, with the panic on the gray-robed old monk's face clearly visible. However, it was at this moment, the originally panicked expression on the gray-robed old monk's face suddenly vanished, replaced by a look of success. "Evil demon, did you really think you had caught me?" Before his words fell, dazzling golden light burst forth from above Lu Qing's head. An intensely powerful aura descended from the heavens. Chapter 574, Buddha's Dharma Body. Shocking collision. Slaying the old monk. Above Lu Qing's head, the gray-robed old monk radiated a grand golden glow. A huge Buddha silhouette appeared behind him. The gray-robed old monk, with a stern expression, stood on the golden small boat and struck downward with his palm. As he struck with his palm, the Buddha silhouette behind the gray-robed old monk also extended a giant palm, pressing down on Lu Qing from above. With this palm strike, it was as if chanting resounded between heaven and earth, with golden runes swirling around the Buddha silhouette's giant palm. Carrying a crushing might, it pressed down towards Lu Qing. It turned out that the gray-robed old monk, who previously seemed to be forced down by the arrow formation and caught by Lu Qing using the earth vein magnetic force, had calculated successfully. In fact, it was all intentional, meant to make Lu Qing let down his guard so he could deliver a deadly blow at close range. Indeed, one should never underestimate any foundation establishment expert. Lu Qing felt the might of the giant Buddha palm, and a sense of admiration arose within him. This gray-robed monk clearly still had tricks up his sleeve, constantly using just the golden shuttle magical artifact against his enemy. Even facing his arrow formation siege, he deliberately showed weakness and pretended to be forced down. It seemed like he fell into his trap, but in reality he was counter-calculating and plotting also. He waited to get close to him before deploying his move. The scope of the giant Buddha palm was not small, covering an area more than 10 yards above Lu Qing's head. Not only was it fast, but its might was also extremely formidable. Before the giant palm fully descended, its tremendous suppressive force already bound Lu Qing, making his body sluggish and difficult to dodge. It seemed like a reversal of roles was about to take place. He would turn the tables and shatter Lu Qing along with his domain. It seems I must get serious now. Looking at the giant Buddha palm close at hand, Lu Qing tensed up, and glimmers of light appeared on his body. Boom! The next moment, the Buddha palm had already struck the position where Lu Qing was. A vast cloud of dust rose, and the ground within a radius of over 10 yards was concaved by that strike. From high above, a huge palm imprint suddenly emerged on the plain, visually impactful. This strike, with its terrifying power, was enough to make anyone in the innate realm turn pale and shudder with fear. However, seeing the terrible destructive power caused by his strike, the gray-robed old monk showed no hint of pleasure. Instead, his expression changed, because he felt that the earth-vein magnetic force binding him had not completely disappeared. It still wrapped around him, making it difficult for him to move. He stared intently below, and suddenly his pupils disappeared. Below, the dust exploded in all directions. A figure glowing with white light burst out of the dust and flew rapidly towards the gray-robed old monk. The gray-robed monk was greatly alarmed and without thinking, driven by his heart and spirit, he struck with his palm. At the same time, the Buddha silhouette behind him stirred up endless gusts of wind and also struck down at Lu Qing in the air. Facing the oncoming golden glow and the giant Buddha palm, Lu Qing's gaze remained calm, showing not a trace of panic. Even his war saber and bow and arrows he had unknowingly stashed into the Chenkuan Chi bag. A breeze appeared around him, further accelerating his speed. With his right hand formed into a fist, he didn't dodge but met the Buddha palm head-on with a punch. Roar! As Lu Qing's punch struck out, a tiger's roar echoed through the high skies, and it seemed as if the gray-robed old monk saw an ancient giant tiger emerging from Lu Qing. The gray-robed monk was even more startled. He knew it was Lu Qing's overpowering fist intent that interfered with his heart and spirit, creating that illusion. With a thunderous crash, the fist and palm collided in midair, whipping up a whirlwind, and once again, the sky above was blasted into layers of white haze, stirring up fierce winds. If this were on the ground, it would likely cause dust to fly and trees to topple. Seeing the drastic size difference, Lu Qing in front of the 10-yard-wide Buddha palm appeared like an insect, seemingly engaging in a futile effort. But the reality was starkly different from what the eyes could see. Under Lu Qing's punch, the Buddha palm, seemingly made of glaze, began to crack at the center of the fist, spreading rapidly across the entire hand and even the arm. Eventually, it completely shattered. How is this possible? Seeing the Buddha palm shatter, the gray-robed old monk's eyes showed an incredulous look. He couldn't believe that the Buddha Dharma he deployed using the treasure within his body could be so easily defeated. With one punch shattering the Buddha's arm, Lu Qing did not pause. A breeze appeared around him, and after descending a few yards to neutralize the rebounding force, he surged upward again, directly challenging the gray-robed old monk. There was only one chance. The other party had the golden small boat, and as long as he stayed in the high altitude, he could attack or retreat nearly invincible. Having finally gotten close to his opponent, he couldn't let go of this great opportunity. He had seen the slowly recovering arm of the Buddha phantom he had shattered, so he knew he had to make it quick. Harnessing the power of the spirit talisman, Lu Qing also possessed brief flight capability. He closed in on the gray-robed old monk quickly and struck out with another punch. Having already experienced the might of Lu Qing's fist, the gray-robed monk dared not take it head-on. But just like previously, he countercalculated by purposely entering Lu Qing's domain to lower his guard and launch a killing move. But now he was also trapped within Lu Qing's domain, bound by the earth-vein magnetic force, his speed greatly reduced. Wanting to retreat, but it was already too late. Having no other choice, the old monk had to pinch a spell, driving another arm of the Buddha Dharma to strike at Lu Qing. Chapter 575. But this time, without any surprise, another arm of the Buddha Dharma shattered under Lu Qing's punch. A breeze appeared, and Lu Qing once again arrived in front of the gray-robed old monk, unleashing another punch. This time, however, the gray-robed old monk had no means to respond. He could only force himself to summon his spiritual power and thrust out a palm to meet Lu Qing's fist. But even his strongest technique couldn't withstand Lu Qing's punch. While the gray-robed old monk's physical body had also been tempered to an extraordinary level, how could he be a match for Lu Qing? Under the incomparable fist power of Lu Qing, his arm burst apart on contact, and blood spurted wildly as he was sent flying from the golden small boat backward. Perfect opportunity! Lu Qing had long coveted that golden small boat and immediately seized it, ignoring the pursuit of his enemy. His heart and spirit activated, wishing to take it for himself. Just as the gray-robed old monk was gravely injured, Lu Qing's punch was not only ferocious in strength, but also immense in fist intent. With his heart and spirit nearly shattered by the fist intent, the gray-robed old monk couldn't maintain control over the golden small boat. Thus, Lu Qing easily stored the small boat inside the Qianquanqi bag. He then turned his gaze back to the gray-robed old monk, still suspended in the air, and pursued him as a whirlwind arose around his body. What might seem complex actually happened in the blink of an eye. From the moment Lu Qing knocked the gray-robed old monk off the golden small boat to the point he seized it. When Lu Qing confronted the gray-robed old monk again, the latter had not yet reached the ground. Facing the gray-robed old monk's fearful gaze, Lu Qing, expressionless, delivered another fierce punch to his chest. Boom! With this punch, Lu Qing showed no restraint. His fist power burst forth, instantly tearing through the old monk's body. However, being a Foundation Establishment level perfect expert with a physically strong body far superior to an innate realm expert, the gray-robed old monk wasn't completely destroyed by the impact. A massive hole pierced through his chest, and he fell heavily to the ground, creating a large crater. Lu Qing landed beside the crater, looking indifferently at the gray-robed old monk who was struggling to breathe, exhaling far more than inhaling. Having endured a hit while Lu Qing was empowered with body treasure light, the old monk's body was not completely shattered, but was clearly beyond survival. Body shining with treasure light. You are actually a body cultivator. The gray-robed old monk, though conscious, saw the white halo emanating from Lu Qing and had an epiphany. According to the records left by the predecessors of Suspended Mountain, the path of body cultivation was formidable. Despite many flaws, its combat power was ranked among the top 3 in various cultivation practices. Especially in close combat, it was considered invincible. The fact that he was deceived by a body cultivator who reached the realm of body shining with treasure light made his defeat less bitter. However, there's one thing this old monk has never understood. What grudge does Suspended Mountain have with you, that you would massacre our disciples? Knowing death was inescapable, the gray-robed old monk fixated on Lu Qing's ghost face mask and voiced his greatest confusion. Lu Qing, however, did not indulge him. Impassively stated, "You can try to figure that out in hell." With that, he launched another punch, its fist power raging through the severely injured gray-robed old monk, who, on the brink of death and unable to muster any spiritual power for defense, was pulverized into a mist of blood by Lu Qing's punch in his terror. At the moment of the explosion, a gray light shot out from the blood mist, flying straight for Lu Qing's forehead at an astonishing speed. But the next moment, just as the gray light was about to reach Lu Qing's forehead, a golden vestment robe's phantom image emerged from his body, completely shielding him. The gray light crashed into the phantom of the robe, immediately hissing and turning into gray smoke. Ah! Merit power! This is impossible! The gray-robed old monk's voice of shock and fury had just sounded when the gray light was completely incinerated, and his voice dissipated. It turned out that the gray light was the transformation of the gray-robed old monk's divine soul. He knew he couldn't escape his fate but still refused to give up. In the throes of death, he executed a divine soul secret technique, attempting a desperate bid to invade Lu Qing's brow chakra. If he could shatter Lu Qing's divine soul, naturally that would be ideal. He could possess Lu Qing and seize a powerful body of a body cultivator. Even if possessing Lu Qing was not possible, as long as he could severely harm Lu Qing's divine soul, it would serve to fend off a great foe for Suspended Mountain for a while. His divine soul aura left on Lu Qing would help their people to track and eliminate Lu Qing later on. Unexpectedly, Lu Qing possessed within his body a merit clothing capable of blocking all divine soul attacks. The wiles of the gray-robed old monk had left him no chance of succeeding. His divine soul was scorched and annihilated by the merit clothing. These old geezers really have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. Lu Qing touched his brow and sighed. The attack on his divine soul had been extremely fast, and even he had almost been unable to react in time. However, even if the gray-robed old monk had indeed invaded the acupoint on his brow, he wouldn't have panicked. On the contrary, he felt that if the gray-robed old monk were to see what was inside the acupoint of his brow, he'd likely be the first to die of shock. With the multiple protections of the Earth Spirit Pearl and the Divine Soul Talisman, Lu Qing didn't think that any attack on the Divine Soul below the Golden Core could hurt him. Having resolved the gray-robed old monk's last attack, Lu Qing's gaze fell on the pit, because he saw that after his punch had turned the monk's body into a mist of blood, there was still something that had managed to survive. It was a bead emitting a faint golden luster, suspended in midair. Lu Qing could tell that this must be an exotic treasure refined by the gray-robed old monk. He was about to inspect it with his superpower when, suddenly, his expression changed and he looked up in the direction of the Lingshan mountain range. His sharp intuition told him that there seemed to be another powerful presence rushing this way. Moreover, this presence faintly gave him a sense of impending crisis. Feeling this, Lu Qing didn't hesitate. He flashed to the pit and grabbed the golden bead, storing it in his Chenkuan Qi bag. "Little Li, come here." Little Li, who had been hiding nearby to cover for Lu Qing, suddenly appeared from the air and jumped into Lu Qing's arms. Holding Little Li, Lu Qing's body flashed with a green light, transforming into a streak of flowing light, heading far away. This time, he didn't hold back, exerting the full power of the spirit talisman and his movement technique. As his spiritual power circulated through his limbs, he stepped out and was already tens of meters away. With another step, he traveled another tens of meters. In an instant, he became a streak of flowing light, disappearing into the distant land. Dozens of breaths later, a figure appeared where Lu Qing had battled the gray-robed old monk. After observing the scene with a solemn expression, his face suddenly changed, and he emerged in the pit where the monk had perished. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, his face turned ashen. He sensed that the divine soul aura of Elder Ku Rong seemed to have completely disappeared right here. After leaving the battlefield, Lu Qing exerted the spirit talisman and his movement technique to their limits, becoming a streak of light and fleeing the scene. After running several hundred li and sensing that no one was following him, he finally dove into a deep mountain and found a cave to temporarily hide. With a spiritual artifact that could conceal alignments from divination, combined with the divine soul talisman's ability to hide his aura, he believed that as long as he wished to hide, there was hardly anyone in the world who could detect his whereabouts. After quietly waiting in the cave for half an hour and confirming that indeed no one had pursued him, Lu Qing finally relaxed his heart and spirit. Earlier, from the direction of the Lingshan mountain range, he had sensed a thread of danger. Although that thread of aura wasn't strong, Lu Qing, at this moment, preferred not to take the risk. After all, now he was in the dark while Suspended Mountain was in the light. As long as he was unwilling, the other party wouldn't be able to find his trace. Since that was the case, there was no need to take unnecessary risks. From the gray-robed old monk's performance, he knew that Suspended Mountain indeed had a profound foundation and no lack of magical treasures. Even for him to slay the monk, he had to use quite a few trump cards. If the newcomer was even more formidable than the gray-robed old monk, it probably wouldn't be so easy for him to escape. Once caught in a difficult fight, if the others were to reinforce, there was a possibility he might be capsized in the gutter. His main goal of coming to West State was to make trouble for Suspended Mountain, not to engage in a life-and-death struggle with them. For the time being, it was best to remain hidden in the dark. After all, the battle with the gray-robed old monk had already brought him significant gains. Once he had digested the gains from this battle, there would be no harm in looking for trouble with Suspended Mountain. Thinking this, Lu Qing took out a stack of jade talismans and flicked them into the ground to set up a simple array to conceal his aura. Only then did he flip his hand and take out a golden small boat from his Chenkuan Qi bag. Chapter 576. Buddha's Relic and Harvest. Golden wood flying boat. Crafted from the trunk of a spiritual Bodhi tree, a mid-grade flying magical artifact. When fully activated, this magical artifact can fly at extreme speeds, but offers only average defensive power. The original owner of the magical artifact has perished, and the divine soul imprint has been erased. It is available for a new master. Flying artifact. After the gray-robed old monk died, the golden small boat shrank to the size of a palm. When Lu Qing probed the small boat's information with his superpower, a smile appeared on his face. In fact, he had been eyeing this magical artifact with great envy when he saw the gray-robed old monk soaring through the sky. Flying artifacts are always rare treasures. Though not as precious as spatial artifacts, they are still quite uncommon. He possessed the Leaving Fire tripod and the Chenkuan Chi bag, two great spiritual artifacts, as well as the Five Elements gourd, his life-bound magical treasure. These treasures were well-rounded in both attack and defense, naturally possessing the ability to fly. However, the grades of both the spiritual artifacts and the Five Elements gourd were too high. Even if Lu Qing exerted all his strength, he could only unleash a minuscule part of their potential power. To control their flight would require an enormous amount of spiritual power, and even if he drained himself completely, he wouldn't get very far. But the golden small boat was different. Its grade was not too high. It belonged to the category of magical artifacts, just perfect for Lu Qing to use at the moment. Young master, do you wish to refine this boat? At this moment, the shadowy figure of Yen appeared beside Lu Qing. That's right, this boat is a flying artifact. Both you and the Chenkuan Chi bag are of too high a grade for me to maneuver for flight at the moment. Although the boat is merely a magical artifact, it is exactly what I need right now, Lu Qing explained. Yen nodded. Indeed, controlling a spiritual artifact for flight is challenging and requires a vast amount of spiritual power. Of course, the speed of a spiritual artifact's escape far exceeds that of a conventional flying magical artifact. Crossing 100 miles in an instant is an easy feat, and at full power, crossing large states in a single breath is quite normal. Unfortunately, all of this was still far beyond Lu Qing's reach. Controlling the flight of a spiritual artifact is not something a chi-refining realm cultivator could do, and not even possible for a foundation establishment stage cultivator. Concentrating, Lu Qing began to use his heart and spirit to perform the sacrificial refining and take ownership of the golden small boat. With the death of the gray-robed old monk, the golden small boat had become an ownerless object. As the magical artifact had no artifact spirit, Lu Qing easily imprinted his divine soul mark in the core of the boat's restriction, completely refining it. As soon as the refinement was successful, Lu Qing felt a connection with the golden small boat through his heart and spirit. At his will, with just a slight impetus, the boat could enlarge and break away, flying into the sky. However, he did not do so. Given the unclear situation outside, and the trace of an aura that could herald danger for him, which he had sensed before, he didn't know if it was still present. Going out now could lead to a collision, so it would be better to test it slowly later on. After putting away the golden small boat, Lu Qing took out from the Chenkuan Chi bag a clump of golden light, a pale golden bead, and a golden shuttle. This time, by killing the gray-robed old monk and the suspended mountain elders like Xianyi, he had obtained 4 treasures in total. There might have been treasures on the other elders' bodies, but he had no time to collect them at that moment. Lu Qing examined the remaining 3 treasures. That clump of golden light was not merely a glow but a soft, silk-like substance, emitting a golden radiance. It was also quite hefty, quite a weight in hand. As Lu Qing unfurled it, he realized it was a golden monk's robe, thin as a cicada's wing and made of unknown material. He then turned his attention to the pale golden bead, which felt warm and smooth like jade but was made of a material that was neither gold nor jade, quite peculiar. As for the golden shuttle, it appeared to be crafted from a kind of bone that had undergone jadeization. Lu Qing began to use his superpower to probe the items. Firstly, he probed the thin golden monk's robe, the Vajra robe, a top-grade Buddhist magical artifact. Woven from the silk of the Vajra silkworm, infused with Buddhist restrictions, it is well-rounded in offense and defense and possesses extraordinary power. Buddhist treasure. It must be activated with Buddhist skills to unleash its greatest potential. Lu Qing turned his gaze toward the bead and the golden shuttle. Vajra relics. Formed from the Shariputra left behind by a golden core realm Buddhist practitioner after passing into nirvana. It contains a strand of the imposing power of a golden core realm Buddhist practitioner. When activated with Buddhist secret techniques, it can summon the Buddha Dharma. Only Buddhist practitioners above the golden core realm can condense Shariputra. Buddha Bone Golden Shuttle. Crafted from the bones left after a golden core realm Buddhist practitioner enters nirvana. It holds a strand of the imposing power of a golden core realm Buddhist practitioner. When activated with Buddhist secret techniques, it can unleash the Buddha's evil power with extraordinary killing force. A Buddhist attacking magical treasure that requires Buddha power to be activated to unleash its strongest power. After reading the information on the three treasures, Lu Qing felt somewhat disappointed. The Vajrarobe, Shariputra, and Golden Shuttle were all fine treasures, even higher in grade compared to the Golden Small Boat. However, unlike the Golden Small Boat, these artifacts were infused with powerful Buddhist restrictions, requiring mastery of Buddhist skills and activation with Buddha power to unleash their greatest potential. To him, they seemed somewhat akin to chicken ribs. Therefore, after examining the information, Lu Qing stored them into his Chenkuan Qi bag, planning to see if they could be of use later on. Having checked the information on the treasures, Lu Qing began to reflect on today's battle. His fight against Xian Yi and others went well. With his current strength, hardly anyone in the innate realm was his match. Moreover, as he had taken them by surprise, sweeping them away with ease was expected. The key lay in his fight against the gray-robed old monk, from which Lu Qing gained a great deal. As a perfect foundation establishment cultivator, even having self-inflicted a wound with a cut, the gray-robed old monk remained the toughest opponent Lu Qing had encountered. His attacking techniques were also incredibly powerful. Whether it was the Golden Shuttle's treasure light or the Buddha Dharma. Each move, leveraging the power of magical treasures and artifacts, was impressively mighty, and standing high above on a flying artifact like the Golden Small Boat only added to his advantage. Lu Qing figured that other innate realm martial artists, even if they had reached perfect innate realm, would struggle to last even one round against the gray-robed old monk unless they were facing him. Even Lu Qing himself had to use numerous trump cards, and with careful planning, force the opponent into close quarters to successfully strike the killing blow. It showed just how formidable a foundation establishment expert could be. However, this battle also gave me a chance to test the approximate limits of my current strength. Lu Qing looked at his palm and pondered in silence. In his battle with the gray-robed old monk, he used many tactics. Saber technique, arrow technique, boxing, domain, earth vein primordial magnetism, body cultivation power, and so on. It could be said that aside from his two trump cards, the spiritual artifact and divine skills, he had fought with nearly all his might. Thus, he had a rough idea of where his strength lay. Without using his two innate divine abilities, his own strength should be comparable to that of an average perfect foundation establishment. Of course, even so, Lu Qing still wouldn't underestimate any foundation establishment cultivator. The strength between cultivators was never static. Even at the same realm, aspects like cultivation techniques, magical treasures, and mindfulness could greatly influence a cultivator's strength. Take the gray-robed old monk, for example. Without those Buddhist magical treasures, his strength as a magic cultivation practitioner wouldn't be much stronger than an ordinary innate realm martial artist in front of Lu Qing. It would be easy to annihilate him. Yet, once he had the right magical treasures and used them properly, not even Lu Qing could defeat him without resorting to various methods. This makes it clear how much a good magical treasure can enhance a cultivator's strength. Lu Qing had no wish to one day fail because of underestimating an opponent's powerful magical treasure. So even though he had killed a perfect foundation establishment enemy this time, he still wouldn't underestimate other foundation establishment cultivators. After sorting out the gains from this battle, Lu Qing collected his thoughts and began to enter a state of cultivation to prepare for the next ambush. Having made the journey to West State, he had no intentions of returning so soon. Suspended Mountain aimed to unify West State and establish a Buddhist faith. He couldn't just watch them succeed. He planned to personally crush Suspended Mountain's ambitions to dust. Chapter 577. Sweep. News spreads. Boom! In West State, within a large city, a huge Buddha statue under construction collapsed with a thunderous crash. A group of craftsmen looked up at the figure in the sky, filled with awe. They had never seen anyone who could actually fly in the sky. Could this be an immortal descending to the mortal world? For a moment, some civilians who worshipped gods and Buddhas started to bow down in prayer. A young monk, whose breath was at the mid-stage of the innate realm, stared at Lu Qing in the sky, standing on a golden small boat and wearing a ghost face mask, his face filled with shock. Which secret land's senior might you be, to jest with our Suspended Mountain in this manner? He asked. Suspended Mountain. My target is exactly Suspended Mountain. Lu Qing's eyes condensed. A refined sword chi descended from the heavens, slashing towards the young monk. The speed was swift, and the power immense, directly causing the young monk's face to turn pale with fright. He intended to dodge, but it was already too late, so he had to muster his spiritual power, forming a wall of energy to protect himself, hoping to block the terrifying sword chi. However, with a soft sound, his body stiffened and his eyes gradually lost focus. A line of blood emerged on his forehead, slowly spreading until his entire body was bisected, crashing to the ground amidst countless screams of terror. After killing the Suspended Mountain disciple, Lu Qing did not even turn his head but steered the golden flying boat, turning into a stream of light, and flew into the distance. Yet on the way, Lu Qing fell into deep thought. It had been 2 days since his battle with the gray-robed old monk. He had been cultivating in a cave for 2 days, and this morning he came out, starting to execute his plan with the golden small boat. He razed many cities in West State, destroying many of Suspended Mountain's under-construction temples and Buddha statues. If he encountered any resisting Suspended Mountain disciples, he showed no mercy and directly killed them. The city he had just attacked was already the 4th city Lu Qing had assaulted today. The flying artifact was indeed extraordinary. After the refinement of the golden small boat, his mobility had taken a qualitative leap. Crossing the entire West State would not even take a day. Attacking several large cities that were Suspended Mountain strongholds in a single morning, if it had been the old him, even if he could achieve it, the physical and spiritual power spent would certainly not be small. But now he was merely piloting the golden small boat, achieving this with ease. Compared to before, he didn't know how much effort and time he had saved. Everything went so smoothly, Lu Qing should be happy. However, his heart instinctively felt something was amiss. He realized that the few cities he attacked, the Suspended Mountain disciples stationed within them, seemed unaware of him. Seeing the golden small boat he piloted, besides shock, they showed not any other reaction, as if they were completely ignorant of its origin. This was rather strange. You see, not long ago he had killed several high-ranking elders of Suspended Mountain, including a supreme elder like the gray-robed old monk. Such a major commotion, by all logic, should have shaken the whole Suspended Mountain. But now, the various Suspended Mountain strongholds he attacked, the disciples there, seemed to be oblivious to him. Clearly, the news of him killing the gray-robed old monk had been concealed by the upper echelons of Suspended Mountain. They did not inform the outside disciples. But what was the purpose of Suspended Mountain in doing so? Did they think with his status as an eminent senior, he wouldn't harm ordinary disciples, so there was no need to warn them? Or were they concerned about affecting the prestige of Suspended Mountain, hence the concealment? Or was there another conspiracy involved? Many thoughts revolved in Lu Qing's mind, but his actions were not altered by these considerations. Instead, he drove the golden small boat even faster. A trace of determination also showed on his face. Regardless of Suspended Mountain's motives, the current him need not be overly wary. If there really is a conspiracy awaiting me up ahead, then it's no big deal. I'll just bring out my trump card and blast them with a spiritual artifact. Lu Qing believed that when that moment arrived, the folks at Suspended Mountain would surely be even more surprised than him. With this in mind, Lu Qing continued to sweep through the strongholds of Suspended Mountain. As soon as he saw a temple or a Buddha statue under construction, without a second word, he would destroy it. Any Suspended Mountain disciple who tried to resist would be mercilessly beheaded by Lu Qing. Now that he had declared all-out war with Suspended Mountain, Lu Qing would certainly not show any womanly kindness. An enemy should be slain. With that, in just one day, Lu Qing swept through nearly all of Suspended Mountain's strongholds in West State. And under his undisguised, overtly brazen methods of destruction, the news could no longer be concealed. Thus, rumors of a mysterious, strong man riding a golden small boat and wearing a ghost face mask began to spread throughout West State, destroying Suspended Mountain strongholds and killing its disciples rapidly, even reaching the other major states. Is what you said really true? In the Lingshan mountain range, an old monk dressed in gray robes, but with a ruddy complexion, watched the red-robed monk in front of him without any expression. It's absolutely true, Supreme Elder. That ghost-faced man is out there slaughtering our Suspended Mountain disciples. Most of the disciples we sent out have perished. The news has spread across West State, and even the other states are likely to have received word by now. The red-robed monk reported with great caution. I understand, you may go now, the ruddy-faced old monk said indifferently. Yes. The red-robed monk did not dare to say more and carefully withdrew. The ruddy-faced old monk stood still, his expression wooden as he thought for a while before finally taking out a jade token and triggering it with his heart and spirit. A glimmer of light emerged from the jade token. A divine soul fluctuation transmitted from it. Elder Chi Xian, what's the situation? Just as we speculated before, that ghost-faced man is indeed targeting our Suspended Mountain. Today he reappeared, destroying many of our newly established strongholds in West State. He didn't even spare ordinary disciples, executing them all mercilessly. The ruddy-faced old monk replied, not even sparing the ordinary disciples. That means he bears a mortal grudge against our Suspended Mountain. When did we provoke such a formidable foe? Another divine soul fluctuation, different from before, appeared. Clearly, the jade token in the old monk's hand was capable of contacting more than one person. I don't know either. The ruddy-faced old monk shook his head. Ku Rong died too thoroughly, leaving no information. Moreover, the site of the battle is mired in chaos, and it's impossible to calculate anything. To be honest, I'm not even sure whether that ghost-faced man is male or female yet. No need to wonder, anyone capable of killing Ku Rong in such a short span of time must also be an old antique like us. Apart from the few old-timers from the other great secret lands, and the 3 oddities from Holy Mountain, it's impossible for anyone else to exist. The voice in the jade token said with certainty. That's right. Especially those noses at Qingyang Temple. They've always been at odds with us and harbor the greatest enmity towards Suspended Mountain. But the other great secret lands have also just emerged, managing their own territories. They shouldn't have the time to trouble us. Then it must be Holy Mountain. Those 3 oddities have always been inscrutable and suspicious. For a time, several divine soul fluctuations within the jade token began to argue. Chapter 578. Attention of the world shrinking. Alright, no matter what the real identity of the ghost-faced man is, since this person is determined to be an enemy to Suspended Mountain, we can't remain without any action. Otherwise, the majesty of Suspended Mountain will be completely lost, and controlling West State in the future will become even more difficult. Just as several divine soul fluctuations were arguing endlessly within the jade token, the first person who spoke up. With those words, the other divine soul fluctuations immediately quieted down, because they knew that the host was right. Since the other party had already provoked them to this extent, the urgent task at hand was to capture this person and execute him publicly. Otherwise, if they continued letting him show off in West State, it would be a fatal blow to the prestige of Suspended Mountain. Not to mention dominating the world, it would even be uncertain whether they could control West State in the future. The host is right. No matter who this person is, as long as we catch him, everything will be clear. Correct, this person is arrogant and clearly doesn't consider Suspended Mountain at all. Setting a trap to catch him shouldn't be difficult. After we capture this person, we mustn't let him die so easily. We must extract his divine soul and refine it into an oil lamp to be burned day and night. Only then can we comfort Ku Rong's spirit in heaven. Just as several powerful divine soul fluctuations were using the Jade Token to discuss and conspire, many powers around the world also received news about West State. The emergence of the 4 great secret places was a matter of significant attention. Many powerful forces had long dispatched spies to keep track of the movements of these great secret realms. Moreover, between the secret realms themselves, spies were also sent to watch one another, to know themselves and their opponents, and to keep abreast of the situation at all times. The disturbance Lu Qing caused in West State was so massive, it was impossible to conceal. Thus, on that very day, under the flurry of carrier pigeons, messenger hawks, and communication Jade Tokens, almost all of the top forces in the world knew about what happened in West State. In East State, atop a verdant and imposing mountain, in front of a Taoist temple, an old Taoist sat on a blue stone lecturing. 10 or more Taoists sat in front of him, listening intently. Suddenly, the old Taoist's expression changed. He looked up to the sky and caught a stream of light descending from the heavens. The light dissipated, revealing a small white jade talisman inside. The old Taoist used his divine soul power to probe into it, read the information inside, and soon, a look of surprise appeared on his face. "Elder, what happened?" a middle-aged Taoist below asked. If Lu Qing were here, he would recognize him. That was Yangming Taoist who talked happily with him in Holy City the other day. "Something has happened in West State," the old Taoist simply stated. "Trouble in West State. What have those old monks stirred up now?" Yangming Taoist asked, his face showing no surprise. Obviously, in his eyes, those monks were inherently unrestful. It would be stranger if they didn't cause some trouble. It's not those monks making trouble, it's someone else causing trouble in West State, and from the looks of it, they specifically targeted Suspended Mountain. In West State, a mysterious person appeared, riding a flying magical treasure, actively destroying many of the temples and Buddha statues that Suspended Mountain was constructing, and slaughtering their disciples who were outside. The old Taoist summarized what was said in the communication Jade Talisman. The other Taoists were shocked and rendered speechless. "This is unbelievable. Who would have the audacity to provoke Suspended Mountain? Do they really think those old monks are vegetarians?" Yangming Taoist was equally astonished, somewhat incredulous. He couldn't believe that there was someone so audacious in the world who would dare provoke that group of mad monks. Even though their Qingyang temple had deep grievances with them, they wouldn't dare to confront them so brazenly. "We don't know for now." The old Taoist shook his head. That person wore a ghost face mask and did not show his true face. No one knows his real origin. "Elder, could it be someone from the other 2 secret realms making a move?" Yangming Taoist pondered, then spoke. "It's hard to say, but it's unlikely. The Cloudwater Secret Realm and Cold Water Palace have no major grievances with Suspended Mountain, and it wouldn't make sense for them to provoke those monks without a reason," the old Taoist replied. Yangming Taoist nodded. Indeed, among the 4 great secret places, only their Qingyang temple was at odds with Suspended Mountain. The other 2 secret realms might not like Suspended Mountain, but it made no sense for them to trouble them at this critical moment. That means there's another mysterious strong entity who has taken offense at Suspended Mountain. For someone to dare provoke those monks, this person's strength must be extraordinary. And the grudge with Suspended Mountain, similarly, must not be small, Yangming Taoist speculated. For some reason, the face of Lu Qing suddenly came to his mind. If there was anyone with the deepest grievance against Suspended Mountain among the powerhouses of the world, he first thought of that young man. And judging from the character Lu Qing displayed in Holy City, that fearless youth could indeed be capable of such earth-shaking actions. But could it be him? Yangming Taoist was not sure. After all, the elder had just mentioned that the mysterious person who provoked Suspended Mountain in West State was riding a golden flying magical treasure. Only those who have stepped into the path of immortal cultivation and have deep cultivation could manage to ride magical treasures. Lu Qing, though powerful, had only just overcome heavenly tribulation and entered the innate realm that day in Holy City. Moreover, Yangming Taoist had seen clearly that Lu Qing was following the path of martial arts, cultivating innate true qi, not spiritual power. It seemed to be somewhat inconsistent with what the elder said. Yangming, what are you thinking about? The old Taoist noticed Yangming Taoist's thoughtful appearance and asked. Nothing. Yangming Taoist returned to his senses. Elder, since such a major event has occurred in West State, this disciple would like to go there and see. The old Taoist thought for a moment and said, Indeed, with such provocation, Suspended Mountain is bound to respond. You should go there once. Perhaps you can discern their foundations. However, you must remember, on this trip, be cautious and discreet. Do not act recklessly or reveal your identity. Those old monks are currently enraged, and they might even think that the mysterious person was sent by our Qingyang temple. If you stir up trouble and they vent their anger on you, we will be too far to protect you. Yangming Taoist felt a chill in his heart and respectfully replied, Yes, master, I will remember. The old Taoist pulled an object from his bosom and handed it to Yangming Taoist. Take this with you. If you really run into trouble, activate it and it might protect you somewhat. Also, go to the temple and pick 2 magical artifacts to take with you. Once you're out, prioritize your safety above all else. Thank you, Grandmaster, Yangming Taoist said with a start, respectfully accepting the object. Half an hour later, a stream of light flew out from the mountain peak, heading directly toward the West State. A similar situation occurred in the other 2 great secret realms. In the large state where the Cloudwater secret realm was located, several giant birds soared into the sky. In the northern state, several streams of light similarly took flight. Their destination was also the West State. Even the top forces from the other states around the world sent their disciples or spies to investigate the situation in West State. After all, the matter was too significant this time. Suspended Mountain, being one of the 4 great secret places that had just re-emerged, faced provocation from someone daring to trespass on its domain. Everyone wanted to see how Suspended Mountain would respond. More importantly, they wanted to see if this ancient secret place, with its tens of thousands of years of heritage, was truly as profoundly untouchable as the legend suggested. For a while, West State, which was already under close watch, became the focal point of attention for the whole world. Countless forces sent people to enter it. Suspended Mountain, although aware of this, could do nothing about it. Due to the rampant killings by the mysterious ghost-faced man, their disciples, who had been sent out, all hurried back to the Lingshan mountain range after hearing the news. Everyone cherished their lives, knowing that a powerful evil demon was hunting down their Suspended Mountain disciples. No one was willing to risk staying outside. This left Suspended Mountain unable to spare attention elsewhere, allowing various forces to send spies into West State. What troubled Suspended Mountain even more was that, starting from the first day of smashing their strongholds, the mysterious ghost-faced man had suddenly disappeared. In the following days, there was no further movement, as if he had left West State. This made it impossible for Suspended Mountain to plan any ambushes. Young master, how much longer must we stay here? In a hidden cave, the figure of Yen appeared, sitting opposite Lu Qing. Lu Qing was sitting cross-legged, with little Li sleeping soundly in his arms. Between the person and the artifact spirit lay a Go board. Lu Qing and Yen were playing a game of Go.
No ruse.
Staying a couple more days won't hurt. Lu Qing picked up a black Go stone and placed it on the board. After all, it's not me who's in a hurry, but those old monks. They must be frantically searching for my whereabouts right now. Right? Young master, you've killed so many of their elders and disciples and destroyed many of their temple statues. You have completely stepped on the head of Suspended Mountain. Of course, they are anxious. Yen also picked up a white Go stone and placed it on the board, smiling. But I don't quite understand one thing, young master. You clearly had the chance to kill all the disciples of Suspended Mountain who were outside. Why did you let some of them go safely back to the Lingshan mountain range? Killing those ordinary disciples is naturally simple. Lu Qing moved another piece. but my intuition tells me that there is something not quite right with Suspended Mountain's actions. So for safety's sake, I decided to observe for a few days before acting. After all, killing or not killing those ordinary disciples doesn't impact the grand scheme. I see. Yen suddenly understood. It had found it strange that day why Lu Qing had suddenly chosen to hide his tracks while he was having fun. Turns out it was because he sensed a warning. It inwardly exclaimed, "Truly, being a child of fate bestowed with merit light from heaven and earth, even the heavenly Tao helps him all the time. Whenever there is danger, it immediately alerts him. Being an enemy against such an existence, favored by heaven and earth, is truly terrifying. Suspended Mountain has entangled itself with such an enemy, turning it into their nightmare. But young master, if Suspended Mountain continues to hide in the Lingshan mountain range, won't you also be unable to do anything about them?" Yen asked again. "If I can't do anything about them, then so be it," Lu Qing said nonchalantly. "My purpose here this time wasn't to destroy Suspended Mountain. Currently, I don't have the capability to do so. I just need to disrupt their plan to control West State and make it so they don't have time to bother Jili Village in Song State. That alone accomplishes my goal." Lu Qing was very clear. Suspended Mountain had secret realms as its backup. It was unrealistic to completely destroy it, unless he had the power to break through secret realms and sweep aside all opposition. Otherwise, even if he exterminated all the Suspended Mountain disciples outside, it would at most blunt their sharpness and cause them some loss of primordial qi, but it wouldn't damage their core. Obviously, he didn't possess such power yet. So now, having blocked Suspended Mountain in the Lingshan mountain range, daring not to come out, Lu Qing was already quite satisfied. After the commotion he caused in the past few days, the outside world probably already knew about the events here in West State. Under the watchful eyes of the world, he wanted to see how Suspended Mountain would respond, whether they continue to hide or take some other action. A mysterious gleam shone in Lu Qing's eyes. Chapter 579. The Endurance of Suspended Mountain. Golden light across the sky. Suspended Mountain has actually holed up in the Lingshan mountain range? The mysterious strong practitioner's deterrence is so formidable? Can the power of a single individual really force a great secret land to shrink back? When the various forces sent out disciples and spies to gather information and entered West State, only to find that the influence of Suspended Mountain had contracted back into the Lingshan mountain range for defense. Everyone was flabbergasted, somewhat in disbelief, because that was Suspended Mountain. One of the 4 great secret places, it boasted a legacy spanning tens of thousands of years, always shrouded in mystery, aloof and behind the scenes, controlling the great tides of the world. And now it had been forced to withdraw by just one mysterious cultivator. Was this a case of Suspended Mountain having a false reputation, or was the mysterious cultivator truly that terrifying? For a moment, the hearts of countless strong practitioners grew heavy with strange unease. Their gaze turned towards the Lingshan mountain range. They wondered if Suspended Mountain really intended to continue hiding within the mountains indefinitely. "Supreme Elder, are we really just going to stay in the mountain like this?" In the Lingshan mountain range, a red-robed monk similarly questioned the red-faced old monk. Although Lu Qing had slain a group of red-robed elders, including the great elder Xianyi who was cut down by his sword, not all of the strong practitioners among the Suspended Mountain elders had perished. There were still some red-robed elders alive. "If not here, where else could we go?" The red-faced old monk glanced at the red-robed elder. If it weren't for these disciples' fear of death, after hearing about that mysterious ghost-faced man, they would have abandoned their tasks and hurried back. Their plan to ambush had failed before it could be enacted. They might have caught the ghost-faced man by now. Although he was discontented internally, the red-faced old monk knew that now was not the time to blame the disciples. "Is there no way for you, the Supreme Elders, to stop that evil demon's brazen actions? If we continue to remain unresponsive, I fear that the sects we just subdued might start to get restless again," the red-robed elder urgently exclaimed. "The evil demon currently leaves no trace and has likely gone into hiding. Do you suppose you have a method to draw him out?" The red-faced old monk said coolly. The red-robed elder came to an abrupt halt. He wanted to say more, but seeing the expression on the supreme elder's face, he was suddenly startled and dared not speak further. He knew that by returning to the Lingshan mountain range without orders from the temple, he had already drawn the displeasure of the supreme elders. If he continued to be insensitive to the situation, it might lead to unfortunate consequences. Seeing that the red-robed elder fell silent, the red-faced old monk withdrew his gaze. He inwardly shook his head. The disciples from the temple had stayed in the secret realm for too long and lacked experience. Many of them were useless in crucial moments. It was a pity about Xian Yi. Had he not been killed by that mysterious ghost-faced man, these disciples wouldn't be as panicked and disoriented as they were now. With this in mind, the red-faced old monk looked up at the sky. He too was puzzled. As soon as they planned the ambush, the mysterious ghost-faced man vanished. Logically, the information shouldn't have leaked. Where had they gone wrong? And where did the ghost-faced man go? Was he still lurking in West State, or had he already left? For a moment, a hint of worry arose in the heart of the red-faced old monk. He had a feeling that this time, it was an unprecedented crisis for Suspended Mountain. Mishandling the situation could destroy their millennia of prestige in an instant. Yet now, with the enemy hidden and them exposed, although he knew it couldn't go on this way, the red-faced old monk had no solution. They had not failed to attempt to divine the whereabouts of the ghost-faced man. Even employing the spiritual artifacts of the secret realm, they could not ascertain even the slightest clue about their adversary's location. Clearly, the ghost-faced man had made thorough preparations, certainly possessing exotic treasures that could shield one from fate's calculations. With the person untraceable and the risk of being ambushed if they ventured out, for a moment, there was nothing they could do but to shrink back passively. The red-faced old monks had truly found no better way to break the impasse. Days passed, and more forces entered West State to gather intelligence. What surprised everyone was that Suspended Mountain seemed truly determined to just hunker down within the Lingshan mountain range and not come out. Even some audacious spies who had reached the outskirts of the Lingshan mountain range remained unperturbed. Have these old bald donkeys changed their nature, being so capable of endurance? In a small city on the periphery of Lingshan, the figure of Yangming Daoist also appeared. As he gazed in the direction of Lingshan, a strange light flashed in his eyes. Suspended Mountain choosing to hole up was something he never anticipated. As an old rival, he knew full well the domineering nature of those bald donkeys. Even when facing the other three great secret places, Suspended Mountain had always been very assertive. Now they were cooped up in the Lingshan mountain range, letting wild rumors fly outside. Were they harboring some conspiracy, or was that mysterious ghost-faced man from the rumors truly that fearsome? It seems that Suspended Mountain really does not wish to come out. In an inn within a certain city, Lu Qing woke from cultivation, opening his eyes. Hearing the discussions outside, he murmured softly. Lu Qing had not been hiding in the cave all the time. After all, information was not accessible in the mountains. It was more convenient for him to keep track of Suspended Mountain's movements from within the city. To be honest, the extent of Suspended Mountain's withdrawal took him by surprise as well. It could only be said that they truly lived up to being a powerful force that had persisted since the last cultivation era. Their capacity for resilience alone was stronger than many sect forces. However, do you really think that by hiding in the mountains I'll have no way of dealing with you? A cold glint appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. Senior Yen, prepare to act according to the plan. Young master, are you really determined to do this? The voice of Yen resonated in Lu Qing's mind. You must think carefully. Once you do this, the leaving fire tripod will be unusable for some time. No matter, I will set up a spirit-gathering array for you afterward. I believe it won't take long for you to accumulate spiritual charm and recover. Seeing Lu Qing's resolve, Yen could only agree. If that's the case, then let's follow young master's will. Then let's set off. As soon as Yen agreed, Lu Qing checked out of the inn, left the city, and once he reached a deserted spot, donned his mask, summoned the golden small boat, and flew towards the direction of the Lingshan mountain range, soaring into the azure darkness. A golden streak of light traced across the sky. The city where he had been staying was not far from the Lingshan mountain range, and the area was filled with spies from various major powers. So as soon as the streak of light appeared, it drew the attention of many. What is that? A golden streak of light. There seems to be someone inside. That's the mysterious, powerful figure. He has finally appeared. Judging by the direction he's heading in, is he going to the Lingshan mountain range? Alone? Heading to the lair of Suspended Mountain? Hurry. Follow him. I have a premonition that something big is going to happen. The eyesight of the martial artists was indeed formidable. Plus, the altitude at which Lu Qing was flying wasn't too high. This allowed the spies to not clearly see his face, but they could still make out the outline of a mysterious figure within the golden light. Thinking of the recent widespread rumors, how could anyone not realize this must be the mysterious powerful figure who had forced Suspended Mountain to cower in Lingshan? Seeing the direction of the golden light towards the Lingshan mountain range, the spies understood that something big was about to happen. Immediately, all the spies, excited, desperately rushed towards the Lingshan mountain range. Chapter 580, Astonishing Strike. Lu Qing maneuvered the golden small boat with immense speed and soon reached the outer edges of the Lingshan mountain range. While strolling through a small town, the Yangming Taoist suddenly felt something and looked up at the sky, his eyes widening. This golden light, it's that mysterious powerhouse. What is he planning to do? Seeing the direction of the golden light, a chill ran down Yangming Taoist's spine. Without caring about being in the middle of the street, an aura rose around him, and he used a movement technique, leaping into the air, causing a stir amongst the onlookers. When Yangming Taoist reached the sky, he found that the golden light had already disappeared. He had no choice but to follow the direction he observed and head towards the Lingshan mountain range. Lu Qing, of course, knew that many people below must have noticed his movements. However, he did not mind. Rather, it might be said that he wanted this deliberately. After all, the more people who knew about what he was about to do, the better. Following the speed of the golden flying boat, Lu Qing soon arrived above the Lingshan mountains, observing the most magnificent and steep peak below. He could feel that since his last visit, there had been many changes around the Lingshan area. The Qi blood soared to the heavens. Not only had the number of gathered experts increased since last time, but also the spiritual energy of the landscape's veins seemed to have been tidied up substantially. The surrounding spiritual energy was also slowly circulating and converging. Clearly, throughout these days, Suspended Mountain had not simply been shrinking back without taking action. Instead, they had taken the opportunity to set up a strong array nearby. However, did they really think that a hastily set up array could protect them? Lu Qing's gaze gradually turned icy. With a gesture, he formed a spell, and a small tripod the size of a thumb flew out from his neck, hovering in front of him. Yen Sr., let's get started. Just as Lu Qing summoned the leaving fire tripod, some people within the Lingshan area below also noticed the anomalies in the sky. Everyone look, what is that in the sky? A golden small boat, and a figure wearing a ghost face mask. It's that evil demon. The evil demon has appeared. Quickly notify the Supreme Elder. The golden small boat that Lu Qing was maneuvering stood out excessively, especially since not long ago, he had been using this same boat to intercept the disciples of Suspended Mountain. Thus it had become one of his recognizable signs. Therefore, when the disciples of Suspended Mountain saw the anomalies in the sky, they were immediately struck with fear. Helpless, for a person's reputation could cast a long shadow. Lu Qing's recent actions had been too outrageous, with his power alone subduing the entire Suspended Mountain, which was forced to shrink back to the Lingshan mountain range. This invisibly gave him immense intimidation among many Suspended Mountain disciples. What's there to panic about? At a time when the Suspended Mountain disciples felt anxious and confused, the figure of the red-faced old monk appeared, scolding these inept disciples, then gazing heavily towards the sky. He had not expected Lu Qing to appear publicly at this time. Seeing the golden small boat beneath Lu Qing's feet, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. Ordinary disciples did not understand the matters of the Supreme Elders, but how could he not know that it was Ku Rong's magical treasure? Who exactly are you, and what grudge do you have with Suspended Mountain that you have been intercepting our disciples? Although he harbored deep hatred towards Lu Qing, the red-faced old monk still wanted to ascertain his identity. Given the caution displayed by the other in these past days, his public appearance now was certainly out of the ordinary. Thus, while he secretly transmitted messages with his heart and spirit, he also planned to delay Lu Qing with conversation. However, Lu Qing did not wish to communicate with the monks below. His gaze cold and stern, he activated the spell in his hand, and the leaving fire tripod floating in front of him began to slowly rotate, quickly drawing in nature's spiritual energy from the surroundings. As a large amount of spiritual energy was absorbed into the tripod, the leaving fire tripod gradually enlarged, and the formidable power it had been containing slowly revealed itself. The disciples of Suspended Mountain below sensed it. The red-faced old monk then noticed the small tripod floating in front of Lu Qing. Feeling the aura emitted by the leaving fire tripod, his face suddenly turned pale. Is that a spiritual artifact? The red-faced old monk stared intently at the leaving fire tripod in front of Lu Qing, with a look of disbelief in his eyes. It seemed as if he wanted to confirm whether it was really what he had imagined. However, as the leaving fire tripod gradually grew larger and emitted an increasingly terrifying aura, even the red-faced old monk, hard as it was for him to believe, had to accept that it really was the aura of a spiritual artifact. No wonder their combined efforts, even with the aid of the spiritual artifacts suppressed in the secret realm, could not deduce any information about this mysterious ghost-faced man. It turned out that the other party also possessed a spiritual artifact. At that moment, the red-faced old monk finally understood why they could not trace Lu Qing's whereabouts. A magical treasure like a spiritual artifact, containing the power of laws, naturally shields against heavenly secrets, making it an existence that cannot be deduced. This mysterious ghost-faced man, having control of a spiritual artifact, naturally meant that no one could deduce his information. However, although shocked that the other party could control an artifact precious even in the ancient immortal cultivation era, the red-faced old monk knew that now was not the time to ponder on this point. Looking at the small tripod in the sky emitting an increasingly terrifying aura, he understood the purpose of the mysterious ghost-faced man's appearance. The other party intended to attack their Suspended Mountain with a spiritual artifact. All disciples, scatter immediately. Leave this place. Run as far as you can. Quick! The red-faced old monk suddenly roared loudly, shouting at those around him. The disciples of Suspended Mountain, who had never seen the Supreme Elder lose his composure like this, were all taken aback. But they quickly reacted. They, too, felt the aura emanating from the small tripod in the sky. Feeling the might that could cause one's heart and spirit to tremble, even a fool would understand the danger. So, after only a moment of hesitation, all the disciples of Suspended Mountain quickly employed their movement techniques, fleeing in all directions. Meanwhile, the red-faced old monk's body was enveloped in a golden light. A ray flag suddenly appeared in his hand, and under the urging of his heart and spirit, a light from an array illuminated the mountain where he was. Thinking of escaping now? It's too late. From Lu Qing's perspective, he saw a layer of array light protecting the mountain peak where the red-faced old monk was. And the many disciples of Suspended Mountain scattered like the dispelling of tree apes, running away frantically. His gaze was icy, his face showing a hint of mocking expression. With a change of the spell in his hand, the leaving fire tripod in front of him, having gathered its power to the peak, suddenly surged in size, becoming 30 feet large. Then, with a point of his spell, the mouth of the leaving fire tripod flipped downward. Go! Roar! As Lu Qing issued a command, a dragon's roar resounded from the sky. The enormous leaving fire tripod, carrying a sky of flames, slammed down like a burning small mountain toward the ground below.